Okay. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, February 15th. Thank you all for coming. This is the Historic Districts Commission meeting. We have a full agenda tonight. We're going to be using the standards set forth by the Secretary of the Interior and Hingham Historic Districts guidelines and reviewing all our applications, as always. So with that, we'll kick it off with the Roberts. This is a garage and a continuation from last time. How you doing, Jason? Good.
Sorry these got to you just today. We just finished up. We spent some time since the last meeting looking at different options.
I think,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do I need to repeat that or? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So, yeah, sorry you just got these today, but since the last meeting, we've spent some time looking at a few different options based on the feedback from the last discussion. And we have a primary option to discuss today, and then in the back, there are a couple of different alternatives that were considered that we can reference or certainly look at based on the direction of the first one. But what we've largely done is simplified. The feedback, the primary feedback about the prior design is that it looked a little short. And also we were trying to replicate the existing structure. And, you know, the comments there was that maybe we didn't have to do that. So taking both into consideration, we did actually raise the pitch and the proposed design, which I think is probably best reflected on A1.1. So that you can see a higher pitch and a larger window up in the top as the primary change to the front. And then on the side, it's just really just become a basic barn structure without, I'll struggle to describe in architectural terms, but the last where we had the, you know, kind of the two roof lines that ran perpendicular. This is just a simplified version in terms of the outside. The inside remains the same. We did add a gable above the door to give it just a little bit of design, so it didn't look, you know, just like a long flat structure, and also to provide some rain protection. And that's largely it. There's, I guess probably in the first we had designed clapboards in these, as you can see, are cedar shakes.
Which design do you prefer?
So A.1.1 and 2, the designs that are presented as options start towards the back in the section called additional options. So beginning with B.1.1, and you can see the differences. They're fairly minor, the differences, but the one that's presented in A.1.1 is a single design that we like the best. The other things that we looked at were just really adding some structure to the gable on the side of the door, and adding some braces. And then in the others too, there's a, as you can see on C.1.1, there's a difference to the side roof line. And then D.1.1, it's largely just different window choice in terms of the size of the windows. I got that right.
Okay.
They're not that different. I mean, C.1.1 or C1.1 is the most different, but they're all generally fairly similar.
Okay. All right. Given that there's no one in the audience right now, open it up for discussion and questions to Jason. Any thoughts?
I've got one question in regard to the main overhead garage doors. I assume those are wood?
Yeah.
Okay. I think these are positive improvements. I think bringing up that pitch, I think, helped the proportions of the structure quite a bit. In regard to your design options, I think the preferred option, I think, is appropriate. I think the option that has the brackets on the little overhang kind of gives it a little more substance, I think, and a little more strength to that elevation, and I think would also be appropriate. I think any of those design options on that side are probably fine. I think those brackets kind of give it a little more detail, and I think a little more purpose to the gable over the door. So, but I think these are all positive improvements.
Questions?
This would be a red cedar, just left to weather naturally. Yep.
Like the back of the existing house.
And the garage doors, what color?
We would,
Black.
black. That's what I was
That's why I'm
assuming, but
here.
And the trim board, any,
what's the name of the white on the current house? It's a white that
Is
was,
it Jewett white?
yes.
Yes.
okay.
And then the window panes, we would go with black, matching the existing house.
Yep.
On C 1.1, would that window above give you a little additional light up on the second floor loft? Would that be helpful, or it's not an issue really for you?
It's not really an issue, especially given where that is on the property. It's not, let's see, south-north. It's western facing, so I guess at the, maybe in the afternoon there'd be some sun in, but not in the morning and not in the mid-afternoon. And inside, it's a vaulted ceiling. We did opt to just kind of keep it a big open room without a loft.
That would probably almost be at floor level anyway. You're talking
If
about that
there
one
were,
square.
yeah, to have been. a
Yeah.
loft.
But it's vaulted in there?
Yeah.
You look up to the second floor in the back?
Yeah, overcompensating for the very low ceilings in the main house. Be the only place we have any roof height.
Put your Christmas tree there.
Yeah. We have a lot of storage in the house, and there's storage above the portion of the garage where the cars are, so we could use it that way.
I think given your room layout here on S 1.0, that, that additional light might be helpful in there in the afternoon. Just a thought, with a window above. I think it's a little bit more interesting too, just with a little bit more of a substantial gable and the window below. I think like Mike said, any of these would work. So.
I would certainly be open to any one of the options. I think they're all good options.
I don't see anything that would cause me to object to issuing a certificate.
Okay. And, we could make a motion with some flexibility here with any of these, should you just kind of go back and think about what we said and just let us know which one you want to implement going forward.
Yeah, that would be helpful, and given where we are, we probably won't start till after swimming season, so early fall.
Okay.
So to have some time to kind of think about it and then kind of get back to you with it, we would put that time to use.
Okay. All right. Any other
Yeah,
detailed questions?
I was just looking at hold on for 1 second. So C and D options do not have any lights by the side door. in case you choose to go for any of those options.
Right.
I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah, that
Would
would,
just,
that was probably an oversight. We would
Yeah,
at
it's-
least have something on the side.
you know,
I-
if that would be, you could put something, a small one on the side or something to that extent, rather than having it above.
Right,
Something similar to probably what you have in the front.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
With the gable, it made sense to kind of do the one that shines
do the one
down,
on-
and without it, one on the side, but
One
you're
on the
right,
side.
he
We
omitted
missed it,
that.
Yeah.
But that's what it would be,
So,
exactly like the
so
front.
if that's something that could be of interest, then just probably, depending on when we get there, let us know if that becomes one of the options.
Okay. Will do.
Anything else?
Looks good to me.
Would you like to make a motion on this one?
We're ready? Sure. I'll be happy to try to make an open sort of ended motion.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 29 Pleasant Street for a garage based on drawings dated, are they dated for today?
6/2,
It looks like there are
2017 was the first one. That was the engineering.
based, well, so it would be based on
February.
drawings A 1.1 dated February 8th would be one option. There is also option B 1.1 dated February 8th, 2018, C 1.1.
February 2nd on the E 1.1.
On the B,
No, on the B.
on the B.
My E 1.1
Yeah,
says.
no, I'm saying, that's the existing. I'm
Yep.
saying
B as in boy.
B as in boy.
Yep.
for the, yeah. And C 1.1 dated February 8th, 2018, and D 1.1 dated February 8th, 2018. They would be, you would let us know which option, but at this point, the commission is open to all of the different options. With the, with black garage doors, is it dual white?
Do it,
Do it white?
it.
do it.
Trim boards and red cedar shingles, 2H naturally. All windows would be Brosco, all wood windows. Is there anything that I'm,
What was your comment about the side lights?
that would be, that was the side light was on, I think it was on C 1.1. So if that becomes the option that they choose, the side light would be there.
Okay.
I would also add that the doors are all to be painted wood.
Would they be to match the garage doors?
No, it's just more the fact that they're wood as opposed to some other material.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep.
And we would intend to paint them black. And by them, well, I guess they're the ones in the back too. Yeah, to match the rest of the structure.
Roof to match existing house.
Yep.
Correct. In the demolition last time, did we talk about windows to be salvaged from the existing structure? Did we talk about that?
We did, and there was no requirement to reuse them.
Okay.
However, if you are able to salvage windows, that we can, you can call me and I'll get somebody to pick them up.
Okay.
And with the demolition, we had all the photos from before, correct?
Yes.
So we've got what we need there. All right. Anything else to add to the motion? Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
patience.
It's really nice.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for all your help,
Yeah.
your work here.
Good luck.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up, we have 63 Lincoln Street. Are they out in the hall, possibly?
We'll find out. Here are, I think I have two for everyone.
Oops. She's thinking two for everybody.
Last time we had the big table, but you can lay it out here, wherever you want.
Yeah, so there's an easel there.
Yeah, let's look for the model.
You'll just need to make sure when you're speaking, you're handing the response.
Sean, how are you? All right. Lee? Caroline, how you doing? Thanks for coming. Is Sally here too? Okay,
She's out of town.
okay. All right, how do you want to go? Do you want to do landscaping first?
We can do landscape first.
Or
if
do you want to talk about,
We can talk about the changes to the architecture also. However, if you want to talk landscape first, perhaps we could do that and then jump into the rest of the structure, if you would like to do that, or however you want to proceed. I mean, you've been here once and then you've been to the site. So I don't know how much presentation the landscape needs beyond what it was last time.
yeah, was there anything?
There weren't any real changes. I mean, we were going to keep the hardscape as we had discussed before.
Okay.
The fences we had discussed before, so no real changes there, just because from our hearing last time, it didn't seem that there were any that were
Okay.
requested.
Okay.
The same fences, we were going to use the same fences as what are there for some of these accent fences out by the streets as well as up by the house, with probably a little bit of repair and resetting those. So those will stay the same. In terms of the other fences, we talked about a cedar board fence with a picket topper for replacing what's existing out there now. Most of that's in the same exact location, except we came to the front of the house, just behind the front of the house. If you want to take a look where that is now. The house around, existing fences are here now, and we were going to replace them.
Okay,
Same thing on that far side with the stone wall that we discussed. So nothing has changed in that end, except we did talk about the driveway. We have driveway and turnaround space, so that was intended to be the same, as we had discussed. It would be asphalt with some sort of stone or brick accent, so that really hasn't changed. We'll have to kind of see how the numbers come in to decide, is it stone or is it brick, or how much of the stone or how much of the brick it is. So those weren't really going to change at all. The existing driveway currently still runs up right the side of the, right alongside the house. We're going to pull it away. And as you know, and what you saw before at the site meeting, that's all asphalt in that area. So that's all asphalt in that location that goes to lawn. Well, that you don't really see per se, but the important part of that is a lot of asphalt goes away from the backyard. So for landscape, that was, I'd say, the most of it, unless you had other questions about the landscape specifically.
any landscaping questions? Straightforward? Yeah?
Mr. Chairman, who's our
Yes.
fifth vote?
So fifth vote would be, I think, Tomas and Ben, if they could be the voting members on this one. Yeah, so no questions on the landscape plan and design? We're good? Okay. All right. Let's move on to the structure itself then.
Okay.
We gave, I think last time, we gave Sally some comments regarding the dormers, and maybe there were some thoughts on the massing too. Any changes to what you originally thought, or what you?
Yeah, and Lee and Caroline can speak also to
Okay.
this. They're heavily involved in everything, and they do
Okay.
a really nice job of it too. But there were changes that were made, and they can speak to them too. Some of the changes that were made were in respect of what the comments were. So, the dormer that is on that second floor was brought in from the edge of the wall, and then the eave runs across it now, so it breaks that up much in how you had discussed when we were here the last time.
Yep.
We have a shed dormer. The other thing that's probably appropriate to look at when we look at the model, because I still think that's very telling, is when you consider the scale of the existing architecture, the presence of the shed dormer on the back of that existing architecture was also a cue for the proposed carriage house.
And we hadn't built that out. She just stopped the model, before. So you can't, before, last time you couldn't see the back of the house because she just dropped it right here.
Yep.
So when we had referred to it last time, the architectural element, because obviously Miles Street is right here. So this shed dormer has existed on the property, and you couldn't see that because, she cut the model off. So at this point, and obviously as a result of coming to the property, you could get a second see that. But we put it here as well for completeness purposes. We also, and I think I mentioned it in the last meeting, we talked to our neighbors and reviewed these plans in detail. It was filed with you guys as well as proposed changes, as well as the landscape. And I indicated that they were supportive of the structure and the landscape design and everything, but we went ahead and just got both their consent, and not their consent, but their acknowledgements from both Fran and George Cole, as well as the pitcher, Don and Shirley Pitcher, sorry. That Don and Shirley are here, and the Coles are here. So they're the abutting property owners from that side, who are both, in support of our project, and they've gone through it in much detail.
Just as an aside, they're both lifelong residents, both of whom either grew up in those homes or their grandfathers grew up in those homes, so they are have a deep appreciation for historic properties and have been really pleased with the renovations we've done thus far. And I think we've been good and collaborative neighbors, so we were pleased that they're also in support of our project.
They've done a lot in restoring their properties, so we've always been in constant dialogue with them through our projects throughout the course of the years.
I'll read these into the record after you're done. Okay. Good. Any, I know Sally gave us new plans at the site visit.
Yeah.
So that's currently what's.
That's correct.
That's the latest, right?
Yeah, that's the latest ones we have.
Okay. All right. Andrea, two letters.
Okay.
To Hingham Historic Commission. We are the abutting neighbors to the councilman's property. We have met with the councilmans and reviewed their plans for the property and garage project as drafted and submitted to the commission. We are supportive of the project as submitted and are providing this acknowledgement directly to the commission. Signed Francis and George Cole, 71 Lincoln Street. Same letter, signed Shirley and Donald Pitcher, 10 Miles Road.
Okay, if you could close down. Thank you. Great.
Okay, anything else?
Well, the biggest thing we want to make as a point is the main structure is 24 feet in width by 27 feet in depth. And then from that, the smaller shed structure goes back about another 12 feet. So that's the piece on the back side of this structure. So wanted to make sure that that was understood exactly what the depth of that was. And it should read in the plans that way too.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Comments? Who would like to start?
Butter?
Oh, do we have an abutter here? I'm sorry.
No, not this one.
Okay.
Got one question. I know it's kind of drawn here in the dashed line as to the existing structure and the new structure, but do you know what the height differential is between the existing structure and the new structure?
If I don't, I can give it to you right now. Just using
Do you have a scale?
about 7 feet on the peak.
7 feet.
In terms of thinking about how it sits below the existing ridge line on the architecture, it sits below that. Can't recall if that was 3 or 4 feet that Sally said, or if it's even more.
We deliberately wanted to keep it as low as possible, but also maintain, like a story and a half garage, which so many of our neighbors on Lincoln Street also have. Rather than going with kind of like a barn look where you'd have that high knee wall, we, tried to keep it as low as possible, but also functional for our needs.
It's a good point to make, because the other idea on this would be to take it to a barn look, which I think would still be, to be honest, I think would still be fitting, either direction would be fitting. But to give it a 3 or 4 foot knee wall and then start this. This roof line comes all the way down to the plate, all the way down to that first floor plate. So you don't have that like you have on several of the other carriage houses or barns on the street, as well as in historic districts. I think 2 or 3 on the street alone that were recently done in the last few years have a plate or have a knee wall and then a gable that runs even across. It runs all the way across the front body, and they're also wider. In some cases 28 feet, some cases 26 feet. This is 24. So we felt like it was keeping that scale.
And tried to keep it as far back on the property as we can. So, you can see from the model that it only kind of comes up to where that mudroom porch is, so that it's as far back on the property and away from the road as we could make it.
It's 123 feet from the curb on Lincoln Street to this nearest corner, right here, this edge, which is pretty substantial.
Sean, the footprint it's 39, correct? 39 feet
39.
long by 24 feet wide, correct?
Correct.
And the height, I'm sorry if I missed it, was what?
The height would have been 7 feet higher than the peak of the other one. I don't know the exact height. We probably have it right on the plan there. Is that-
Yeah, it's not on the plan.
I can give it to you. Yeah, the scale again. About 23 and a half feet in height.
Okay.
Yeah, the stairwell, that's the one thing about it. The 27 feet for the main body of the garage accommodates a stairwell that runs across it underneath here. So that's also the reason why the two bays of the garage, that enclosure really needed to be 27 feet deep. A lot of times what you'll see is either a window or a door over here, or on this side and sliding the whole structure over. So you're making it 27 or 28 feet wide, maybe 26 feet wide. So your stair would be along one side. In this case, it's all the way in the back, so it's hidden. That's why you have that depth that adds up.
Which we thought just improved the streetscape, have it narrower and going back on the property as opposed to a wider structure.
2 foot in width, 2 doors width is common, but quite often you're going to have the door. This one is very similar scale. We think that looks very nice. That's down the street on Lincoln Street. It'll have a similar depth to it. If you look at the Google Maps image, it'll have a 24-foot in width, probably 26 to 28 foot in depth, plus another piece, which is a deck, and then as a walkout. Now, if we think of other barns, certainly there are massive barns in the area nearby, and that's something they didn't want to go with, although the scale of the house could allow for it, I think. That's just an opinion of mine. A scale of a house this large or this long. Again, the biggest challenge was getting that storage in the back. It was really important because there's a very small area of the body of the house that really is storage, right?
Yes,
There's only this underneath, and you don't have an attic storage
right,
really per
because
se.
it's like a rat slab.
Yeah,
So it's,
underneath. Takes up this side and down, obviously in the basement.
It's 3/4 really of it.
Yeah.
There's just a small finished area.
So this piece that was really almost taking some of the footprint of the old garage, utilizing that on that footprint was important to have for bikes, any other storage that you also don't have. And you also don't have the attic space really for that very well, per
Right,
se.
and I just want to add too, our abutting neighbor, the pictures behind us, he feels really very strongly about wanting us to keep the garage exactly where it is in terms of its location, which is essentially right on the property line, because we're hopeful to kind of keep that foundation wall to eliminate as much disruption as possible. It also happens to be kind of a stone foundation that is pretty spectacular, so we'd love to try to utilize that as much as we can.
Yeah, he's got trees behind the backside, so he's all worried about digging up the root system for those trees to the extent we can keep that retaining wall there.
Right in here. Kind of growing in and out of the wall.
That was
that's
part of the
existing.
limitation,
Yeah.
was him
I mean, if
expressing-
we could keep the existing wall, we will.
Yeah.
So, is this 33 Lincoln?
I don't know the address on that. I know it's on the same side.
Is this a Dolan's?
That's Dolan's
It's the
right there. That's
Okay,
Dolan's, yeah.
all right. I'm wondering if there's a way to get you the space that you want upstairs without the shed dormers on the sides. I feel like the shed dormers take this away from what it is visually from the street, and that's mostly a garage. And if there's a way to look at some of the other garages and structures we've approved recently within the last 2 or 3 years on Lincoln Street. One is 37 Lincoln, or 39 Lincoln, that's the Dolan's here. That's got, more of a gable on the sides. And I think was there a shed dormer off the back? I can't remember.
I think there is.
Okay. That might give you the space up there. And visually, it might be a little bit more interesting than looking straight down the line at a couple shed dormers. The other one was 33 Lincoln. This is, it's a couple, I don't have a picture of it, but it's a couple gables too. Yeah. Is that? It's,
That's it.
it's a cheese house. It's, I think he's got a music loft up there, if I recall what he built. But it's,
That would be different
Much higher.
That's on a I mean, that descends, their property descends. So
Yeah.
if we put that on our property, I would submit we're putting a behemoth of a garage
Yeah, with the knee
from a
walls.
streetscape
Yeah, you've
perspective.
got a tall knee wall there, plus, I mean, you've got a gable that runs, a cross gable runs above that.
Yep.
It's
So
quite a
he's,
ways above.
I've got the numbers on that. It's 23 in height, it's 24 foot wide, and it's 26 long. So it's similar to the height that you're proposing here. And I'm not saying it has to be exactly like this, but they were just trying to pick up something off of the front here with this window. And there's another garage that we recently approved, and this is, it's something like this. Again, it's 24 foot wide, but it's got a shed dormer off the back and it just doesn't, it conceals I think, a little bit better the massing that's going on. And it kind of removes that shed dormer aspect, looking at it directly from the street.
Is that a shed dormer aspect an issue that's just, when you think of how that feels when you look at it, is that really better than having the roof line?
So I'm just looking at what's in the district right now in Lincoln Street, and we just don't see structures that have two shed dormers off the side. We see very simple, traditional, garages. So I'm just trying to,
We think of this as a fairly simple, traditional garage also.
encourage you to maybe look at this a little bit differently without the shed dormers.
So these are not on Lincoln Street.
Excuse me, hon.
These are, let me see, still in historic district.
Yeah, I know this house.
I just drove by that.
Yeah, the ones, they're still showing in historic district.
Yeah, this is Paul Healy's house with one dormer off the side. I know this house,
Yep.
so.
This one also, this one.
And,
I think, what's interesting to me, and I just, so I can, for the benefit of understanding, the scale of our home is much bigger than perhaps 95 or greater percentage of some of these homes we're talking about in terms of the scale of their garage. And to my eye, I think these shed dormers are less imposing than, all this asphalt roof facing the street. I mean, we're windows and, we're marrying that kind of trompe-l'oeil circular window with the, the one that exists on our home. And I just think that in terms of, historical integrity and trying to build something that's modern and functional, but also respectful of the existing design,
Right.
we really felt like this
Well, we
was
spent-
the best. We spent 6 months.
Since April, which as we talked about with Sally.
Sally
went
can
through
tell you
all
how
of
many
this
iterations we've been
And
through.
looking at all this stuff and everything else and all the comps, whether they're on Lincoln or not, it's historic, right? And our home is unique, right? Our home is, you can't find our home on Lincoln Street, right? So what we tried to do, as best as we possibly could, is pick up on these architectural elements that we have that are built into this home, which, by the way, has been put together in 3 stages, which was, this was the original house. This was a Burnett barn that was pushed up and attached by the Chris Everett Lloyd middle section. Charles Everett, Chris Everett.
Okay, you can forget Chris Everett for just a second if you want to take it.
So, really, we were trying to do the best job that we could in preserving our architectural elements and the uniqueness that we have in this home without overwhelming the property, the streetscape, and everything else, and trying to achieve what we needed in today's world. And parking and safety, obviously, turning this thing is critical, as you can tell. I mean, backing out here today, Lincoln Street's a disaster.
I can't imagine, but backing out of there.
Well, we got 3 kids that are going to
Yeah.
be coming out, I've got a 13-year-old boy, and so, we have to address this. And so because we have to address this and our garages go this way, what we tried to do is make this, our home flows. And so to flow our home and have, this element here, and here, and you're picking up what what naturally flows from the property, right? And this was this whole back and forth with Sally. And the shed dormer helped us in many ways. It helps us get the space we need without having to match a roof line here and make it feel overimposing. And I think the neighbors, the larger this goes, the more issues we're going to have out here, obviously. And so we were limited in our options to deal with this. The shed dormer does exist here. That's why, we feel like it's all in keeping with what the home represents.
Did you explore replicating what the center gable looks like here? I know you've picked up the window, you've picked up the gable, but did you explore just a ridge line that is parallel with the house instead of the shed dormers, and what that might look like? With the same type of pitch, and then maybe a shed dormer off the back. Was that a drawing?
You
This roof
increasing
line?
the height on it, is that what you're saying?
So it may be, maybe the pitch changes slightly with the garage. Maybe it gets a little bit flatter, and maybe the peak is 24 feet. A foot higher than what you have right now. I don't know. But I'm just to me, it just it would flow better. It looks a little more interesting. It's I don't think you're detracting from the house. I think there's a rhythm to the streetscape, and you don't have to look down at two shed dormers from the street, which I think are I think do detract from everything that you've done.
I wonder I'd love to hear from everybody else, if that's possible.
Please.
Sorry, Caroline, I just have a question. So, Mr. Chairman, you're saying, your suggestion is
Cross gable.
something like this with just one dormer on the side?
No, well, that could be an option, but I'm thinking more of just a cross ridge,
Similar to this here, there's cross gables on that.
Yeah, right.
In order for that to get wide enough, and I'd have to take a look at that, Sally frankly would have to take a look at that, and Michael, Ben, you guys can probably look at that and figure it out pretty quickly, but in order for that cross gable or cross ridge to work as the Dolans did, that still has a knee wall. It does take it up a little bit. You have to see what the width would be for some cross gable there and see if that works.
It's 24 feet wide. I don't know the height.
Yeah.
I'd have to get the height number for you.
So,
I mean, I'm interested to hear what the commission has to say, too.
yeah, I mean, that would be interesting to hear, because there's a lot of this that is very subjective, of course, like anything in architecture, so it would be nice to know
But I
what the other
think
leanings are.
there's something, and I can't put my finger, there's something a little,
6'6" higher than the existing.
the proportions of this structure as it relates to the existing house, I don't think are necessarily problematic. I think this structure in itself, with these two dormers on it, it's almost like another little house in the backyard, when in reality, it's a garage. And I think those two dormers kind of start to take away from the fact that it's a garage. And I think a lot of these others look less like a little house in the backyard as opposed to a barn or a garage. And I think with the cross gables, I think it helps with the fact that the roof is likely going to be a dark color. It just sort of goes away in the background. Whereas if you've got these dormers here and they're painted even a light gray like the color of your house now, it's going to stand out a bit more, and I think it's going to attract to that. So I think just by having these other cross gables, for instance, kind of helps kind of subdue that structure.
The only suggestion I would have is perhaps a study to bring the shed dormer walls in more. I know Sally brought them in by a plate width, I think 5.5 or 6 inches, bringing them in more to reduce them, make them more diminutive.
Would that allay your fears? I mean, would that make you happier, Michael?
It might be helpful. It's hard to know without actually seeing it, but, you know, it might be helpful, but it's still not gonna negate the fact that there's sort of these two wing dormers on the side, which I think as a structure in its own, seems a little off.
The dormer in the back of the house, the shed dormer in the back of the house, so that's visible from miles?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be visible from miles.
Do you need 24 foot of width on the second floor? You need all that space? You need the full 24?
Yes. And that's, I don't think 24 is very wide.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out if one dormer would, you know, that's gonna cut it in by 6 feet maybe.
If we just went with one dormer,
Yeah.
I would be more inclined, I cannot, I really loathe the one dormer look. I can't bend on that. That's a,
You looked at that early on.
yeah, I mean, and I've seen them around town, it just,
Okay.
I think because our house is symmetrical, it just looks off to me.
Yes. Okay.
What if the dormers were stepped in a little bit more than the new drawings that Sally came up with?
I think that's what we were just talking
I
about.
was
I don't
just
know.
talking about that, at least if you came in a touch more, you're talking about, right now they're probably showing about 23 feet.
Right, so they're stepped in about 6 inches each
Somewhere
or
in the
something to
neighborhood.
that extent. What if they were stepped in a full foot
Yeah,
each
something
on
like
both sides?
Talk about if they were to come a full foot on each side, that would still be, 22 there.
Personally, I like the front of this garage as it relates to the house versus going with something that, where it might be, where the garage might be wider, but it would also be taller. Because it would just, this just looks tall, and I think it would sort of not be right, you wouldn't be capturing the detail in the front of the house, and I think that was done very well here. I do hear what the comments are as it relates to the shed dormers. From the original drawings and to where they are now, I think, to me, that's a great improvement. I would be fine if they were stepped back just a fraction more of where they are currently. But that's me.
Yeah.
And I don't have an issue either with the fact that it's 39 feet long. I mean, I was looking at it, that was why I was turning the model before, just to get an idea of the proportion as it related to the existing house. And I would be fine with that as well. So,
I think, you know, also to consider if you're gonna tuck it in a little bit is bring down that pitch a little bit, drop the plate height, which may even sort of bring those down so they're not so prominent, and may still allow you with the height and the size that you need, but it's,
You're saying raise the pitch?
so drop
Drop these just a touch is what you're saying,
the plate on the outside down, right,
someplace down, and then if you were to come in
and if it
slightly.
tucks in, so they just get a little bit smaller,
Well,
might help.
we'll have to see how that relates to
Yeah,
headroom.
I was thinking of when I was looking at the interiors and,
Would you be willing to do a cross gable study?
I would be more inclined to make these changes. I mean, is that the way the majority feels, that they want a cross gable study?
I know for me, it would help out a lot. I'm not sure how the others would feel. And I know it's worked before on the street, that's why I'm saying.
I mean, our home is unique to the street, so I might submit that, you know, I'm not looking for it to look like every other home. I want it to be in keeping, it's a unique home that's been, you know, it's had some unique things done to it, so we put a great deal of thought and consideration into this. I think that we can certainly examine making some of these slight modifications to the height of the dormers and bringing them in slightly. I would like to have Sally work that out to see what that does to our interior space, to see if we can still accomplish our goals. I think that's reasonable, but I do also feel like it's important for me to know where kind of everyone stands on this. Just helpful to know, so we don't find ourselves, several more meetings away, because we're, obviously we've waited so long to do it, and now we'd like to get going as soon as possible.
Similar to Tomas, I don't have a problem with the length of the structure. For me, it really is the dormers, the double dormers. When I compare the old drawing, the original submission to this most recent submission, seeing those dormers stepped in, I can see it's headed the right direction. It helps to minimize. And then in terms of the actual height of the dormer, the plate height is, as Michael was pointing out, right now you have 7 feet of headroom there. Perhaps bringing that down 6 inches, you'll still have headroom for yourselves. It's at 6'6". Then, if you bring that height down, help also to diminish those dormers. Otherwise, the design to me fits with the house.
Yeah, I would agree that the design fits with the house and with the neighborhood, but I also see Michael's concern that it looks like another house rather than a garage, and if we can bring it a little closer to looking a little bit more like less of a house. But also, I do applaud the recreation of that bracket on the bracket detail is wonderful, and I think absolutely agree with the orientation on the property, making it so that the driveway access is safer. And I was very interested that the current structure has that beadboard interior. I don't know.
So I've appreciated the opportunity to go out and see the property. It's apparent that you don't have the space that you need with the circumstances that you have right now, and I can appreciate the need for it. I'm the newest member of the commission and don't have the architectural knowledge depth. I bring something else to the board, so I'm learning as I go. I can understand, and I've done a lot of reading in the last couple of weeks, because we have looked at several homes with dormers, and there's been, we've worked with families in limiting the amount, the size of the dormer. So I would agree the same thing, and I was just reading this week about the setback of the dormer and how that tends to diminish it, and it is more in keeping with an historic structure. So what's being suggested, I agree with as well. I'm a little bit lost on being able to come up with myself how to change the design, so I'm listening to others. Your home is beautiful, it's big, it can accommodate, I think, a structure. The fact that the structure is set back so far from the street, I think also diminishes the impact that the dormers have, but I like the suggestion of the recess to the accommodations. What did you say, 10 feet back? What was the dormer suggestion, to move it back in?
I think we talked about maybe if we brought it back to a full foot off of the
full
edge
foot,
would
okay.
certainly be just a little bit less and perhaps manageable, see what Sally together, as opposed to
Well, yeah, I guess is the ball in our court. What I guess I would ask is it possible to ask for a conditional approval to the extent that we're willing to go an additional 6 inches back at the bottom and come in 6 inches, as you talked about on the plate, as you suggested then, that if we were okay with that, you guys were okay with that?
Personally, I like to see the drawings before taking that leap. I'm not comfortable with the dormers, and I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable with them in setting another foot. So just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make a judgment call without seeing the drawings, so I need to see that study.
The ones are stronger, I mean, one question about, well, do you change the entire roof line in the design of the barn for start, the garage, for starters, that would be if you do the cross gable, that you're discussing, versus keeping this and modifying it, refining it just a touch more. One's completely different than the other.
Yeah.
So, in the interest of the councilmen's, would be the direction they would want to go. I don't know that it's appropriate to say design 2 new structures or design 2.5 new structures, 1.5 new structures, in order for them to move forward. I think they'd probably want to have just a little more knowledge of what is feasible. It appears to be 4 people out of 6. I think with a little bit more refinement, this is more than likely acceptable.
Well,
Which is fine, and it depends.
I don't know, I didn't,
That's why I said, well, I don't know how many people are voting, so I wasn't counting you, and I wasn't counting Hans. So, are we having 5 people that are voting on this, or 6?
There's 5 voting members.
And
So it would be,
3 of 5. So, in order for the councilmen to understand what direction to move on this, I think that's what they're really asking for, is a little more direction. It's a little tough to say, get back to the drawing board. Nice try, kid. You know, it's a little difficult to do that after you've been working on this
It'll be our year anniversary in April.
in April, and so they're looking for more stronger
obviously,
direction.
You know, build models, and, you know, I'm sure you appreciate it. This is all time, and frankly, it's all money. I mean, you know.
so for, so the other members of the commission besides me, it seems like, you know, if you just cut into those dormers a little bit, Sally can do that very quickly with some, you know, X-Acto knife, and you could have some drawings to support it, and you may have the votes you need. You know, I'm looking at this another way, that if it was my house, I would certainly want to study this to kind of see what it would look like, to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. I mean, you've done so much work so far, it's like, you know, why not 1 or 2 more drawings just to see what it looks like?
To be fair, we have done these drawings.
Okay.
We started this process again a year ago, and we went through multiple iterations.
Yeah.
This is where we arrived based on
Yeah.
what we had drawn. We had talked about doing it in a different way.
So,
But that,
this is the second time we're seeing this, okay?
Right.
So I know you guys have done a lot of work on the outside, but it's also good to kind of come in informally, or come meet with Andrea or me beforehand, and then we can kind of give you some direction too and help you through the process. That's what, you know, we're just here to help and give you some advice and recommendations. So we've been in the loop now for 2 meetings, so that's where we are
Right,
in looking
I
at
think we're
this.
looking to hope, I mean,
Yep,
but I guess
we
not-
understand we'll come back here, but we want to make sure we're not
yep. I got
making
you.
changes for a whole nother.
Yeah, but we appreciate your concern, but I would say that if the ball's in our court to determine if what you all have suggested, which is very specific in terms of come in, get that full foot, and then bring it in 6 inches on the plate, can you live with that in terms of what, we've been spending a lot of time with this. And so if that ball is in our court to determine if that spatially fits with us, and that's the guidance that conditionally we could get from you guys in terms of being acceptable, then that's a far preferable spot for us to be in, because we can go, as you pointed out, and Sally can say, okay, well, this is what it does up there, and X, Y, Z, and we can say, okay, that's fine. But it is potentially a large time saver for us, particularly as the spring approaches.
I don't know how else to say it. What do you guys think?
I feel comfortable with the suggestions, but I'm a builder, I see these all the time. So I have an excellent idea what it will look like, and it will be in keeping with
So I would be comfortable with it as well, once I see the drawings. I mean, I don't want to sign off on anything without having the new drawings in front of me. But I also want you to understand that because Ben and I say that we're comfortable does not mean that the rest of the board is necessarily comfortable with it either. So, but I would certainly be in Ben's court as it relates to this, so.
The last applicant that came in had 4 different iterations of garage for us to look at, and it really helps out in terms of the options, exploring what the differences are. It helps our case a lot, and it just makes our job easier.
Okay. Well, look, we certainly appreciate the time. I'm trying to understand the boundaries of what you guys give in terms of guidance and timing and everything else. In respect to it's the second time we come in front of you. So we'll be happy to go back and execute on your specific guidance, and we'll get plans back in front of you, and we'll have a discussion on that.
And the other thing you could do is, as you're working through this before the next meeting, you can pop into Andrea's office and you know, I'll shoot over. You know, Ben and Mike will shoot over. We'll just take a quick look and, you know, all right. And, you know, it's not a formal meeting, it's not an open meeting, but it might be able to help you in the process. And it's always good to do that kind of early on, so you can kind of, you know, 1 meeting, 2 meetings, and you're done.
Isn't it important, though, to make sure that we're bringing the same project to the group, the
Yeah.
board, instead of working behind the scenes
Well,
too heavily or too exclusively with just the commissioner and the agent? And I think that there's a way to get into some danger doing that, with all due respect. And I think that doing that too heavily or leaning too heavily behind the scenes as a commissioner, as I was myself, would be a bit of a conflict. I think we have to be a little careful of that, doing that, with all due respect to anybody involved here.
Sean, the object here is just to get this as close as possible to something that might be approvable
course.
based on,
Yeah.
you know, the commission here has seen a few hundred applications, you know, so, you know, in total, so we've seen a lot of these, and,
Of course.
you know, some of the, you know, the initial drawings just might, like, they might be just so, you know, easily changed that, you know, you can get to a decision more quickly in 1 or 2 hearings. That's just the case that I've found. It just, it's not putting anybody in a compromising position, because it's still an open session, it's an open hearing that everybody has a vote on.
The other thing I might add is that we offer this to people so that, and certainly not everyone would be there at once. That would be a violation. Nor do we communicate, or do the members communicate between meetings. So the idea being that we'd like to be able to give guidance so that we can assist in making the process a little bit easier and shorter. So, believe me, there's no collusion, there's no backdoor stuff. It just doesn't happen.
Well said, thank you. Do you have some direction on what you'd like to do
Yeah,
going
it's
forward?
been, well, from the first session to today, much more concrete. We appreciate you guys coming out because it gives
Okay.
you a sense as to what our property's like today. And I think allowed for a breakthrough here to at least have a lot more specificity as to what the opinions are of the commission, and gives us more to work with.
Yeah, and we're not here to be critical, we're here to help. We're just employing the, you know, the standards, Secretary of Interior and Hingham's guidelines, so it's not, I'm just trying to give you what we know, and just kind of putting those to work, so.
In terms of the landscape treatment, is that something that could be voted on separately now, or you want to keep pushing that to the next meeting?
I think we could, we okay on the landscape?
Sure.
Yes?
Yep.
And you want to make a, Sean, is there just one page?
Well, there's that with the photographs. Also, there are 3 in total, because they are the images of existing conditions as well as
Okay.
proposed material.
Do you have to
Sean, so I have this color,
That's correct.
and
Yes, the photos, the images, the image sheets.
the attached, I've got of the garage and how they relate. I may here.
I think this is, why
This
don't
would have
you
been
use
from the
this-
first meeting?
Yes.
Right,
They're
okay.
The same ones.
Right.
Yeah.
I have.
Okay, good.
I'd like to make a motion for 63 Lincoln Street for a certificate of appropriateness as it relates to the landscape design. Plans dated November 20th. Let's see. Showing existing conditions, proposed material images. These are color photos. Natural finish cedar board fence.
Natural bleaching oil.
Okay. The fieldstone wall. You've got some cobblestone.
Correct.
These are all natural materials?
Yes, yeah.
Let's see, we'll be reconfiguring the garage, or reconfiguring the driveway.
Correct. Bring your driveway. Going to use the existing brick walkway also. It looks like some of that brick will either need to be swapped out or tucked away.
Right, with the...
Same alignment, same material.
Right, that's at the front door.
Correct, yeah, up to the front one.
The expanded auto court.
Correct.
Do we feel comfortable with the perimeter of the proposed?
For the fencing?
The fencing, I was thinking more of the garage itself.
The driveway area. the auto-
Driveway and the footprint of the garage, for that matter.
I think it could be if the future approval of the garage affects the layout, then maybe it's just a...
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Fence heights.
Match existing.
Okay. What am I missing?
I think you've got it.
Resetting an existing picket fence. Yeah.
Okay, Andrea, do we want to add a demolition at this point to the motion?
Sure, we can.
I think that would be helpful.
Yep.
That'd be helpful.
Does anybody have any questions about the demo in this garage? Okay.
So we'll include the demolition of the existing existing garage.
Makes sense.
Okay.
And the photographs here are, got what we need, Andrea, in terms of the file? I just got a couple photos here. Do we need all 4 sides?
That would be helpful, yeah.
Can you get us all 4 sides of the garage, just photos of that?
Yeah, we can make sure that that's in the package.
I think,
It should be.
yeah, there's only one that's missing. One side is missing, and that would be on your immediate neighbors in the back.
Yeah.
I don't, that's gonna be a tough picture to...
Well, we can go get it. We can get it.
Okay.
They're friendly.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys coming in. All right, sorry for the delay. Next up, we have 191 North Street. This is for the addition of a couple dormers on the roof of the existing house and to modify an existing addition that connects the garage to the main house.
We've got one loaded already, so. I didn't know
For a map,
I really don't know, very honestly.
How you doing?
that's beautiful.
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure that you know.
Thanks for coming out.
Hey, Monica. How you doing?
Good. I tried to get on here.
Yeah, it's coming.
I brought Caitlin Ryan to help me.
Hey, Caitlin.
Ryan. So this is gonna be about 191 North Street, and second time, and the Foleys are sorry they're not here, they're on Disneyland. So they couldn't come, unfortunately. So it's the Francis Overton House, and
Do you have Wi-Fi?
Pardon?
Is there Wi-Fi on this computer?
Probably not in this room.
Yeah. Yeah. Here. This is the computer pulling up any Wi-Fi. No, because this won't connect to the internet.
Oh.
I'm sorry, had I known, I would have asked you to send it ahead of time, they can load it,
Oh,
so.
But they can't, if I send it now, it won't load.
You can try.
well, I have it on here, but it's not gonna be up there, right?
No.
Okay.
We have hard copies?
How are you connected? Are you not connected?
Sorry, guys. Okay, it's gonna work.
Gonna work?
Caitlin says it's gonna work.
Great, great.
You do have Wi-Fi.
Yes, we do.
Good.
See, I didn't know that you loaded them, Andrea. That's what happens in Marshfield. You just bring them the papers, and they scan it, and they put it in. I thought I would just connect my computer.
No, they ask us to get a PDF or the PowerPoint presentation ahead of time.
I didn't know.
And then, because I don't think we talked about it, so I think it was just,
You just thought it would be good. Won't do it. It says 191 North Street.
Not open. It might just be the browser.
So Monica, just for the future,
Yes.
it's always good to get hard copies ahead of time, so we can review it ahead of time in the meeting, and then we can give you something a little bit more to go off of than having us see this for the first time and try to collect all our thoughts together and giving you some better guidance on what to do going forward.
Yep.
So, you know, it's 10 days ahead of time for hard copies for these meetings, you know? And then if you want to do PowerPoint in addition, that's great, but it just gives us a chance to review. We still have the set of from the last meeting, we still have these to go off of, and,
Here it
No.
is.
thank you.
That's okay. That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
So
So-
when you want to go forward, you just click. Right here.
Just do what?
Just click this. Yeah, this comes back up.
Okay, so the first, this is the 191 North Street, Francis Overton House, Lincoln Historic District. You guys were out at the site on Saturday. Appreciate that. We just re-put the pictures in that were on the original packet. This is just the house itself. Go forward, just keep going. There's the side, there's the driveway side that you guys were standing in. Sorry that it's dark. There's the,
It's just the glare from this light.
there's the connector.
I can turn that light down. That would help.
Yeah.
Just go forward again. Okay, so on this elevation, this is the elevation that you guys wanted, the original, the existing elevation is on the top. The right side, the left side, the front, the window, the next slide. Okay, this is the proposed. We took the suggestions that you guys had made on Saturday. We brought the roof down of the section from here to the garage. We took that, that's the section that would be coming
down. We brought the roof down. We made the windows symmetrical in the kitchen area on the first floor. The rest of the house remains the same. Oh, could you go back one? The back shows the dormer that they are requesting on the second floor, third floor, on the non-driveway side, back from the front of the house.
Could you say that again, please?
The dormers, we asked for dormers on both sides the first meeting.
Right.
And we understand that that no one, that isn't really a possibility, so we decided to just put one dormer on the non-driveway side of the
Okay.
house, thinking that it was less obtrusive from the street, so we moved it back as far as we could from there. That just shows what we're doing on the inside. The kitchen becomes in that middle section, that connecting section of the house. The next slide. Same with upstairs. Shows there's that window that we talked about that isn't, that you can't
safety.
access for fire. So this is the windows that, on this proposal, they want to change all the windows out to 2/2, which is on the drawings. And so this is from JB Sash. This is a 2/2 window to show you what it would look like. And he was saying to me that you guys approved a second parish church window with a smaller mutton bar. And so that's what we would be proposing, a wood window from Marvin, a Marvin Ultimate wood window with a small mutton bar for the window change. If we change that window to a 2/2, you will be able to it will be more than adequate for code to get out. So that's what that's showing, because I know, we talked about, if we couldn't, if the dormer was unsatisfactory to the commission, we could talk about being able to have some access from the front gable window. We'd use that window somewhere else in the renovation. I'm not sure where yet. Okay, the next one. Okay. So that is what we came up with since our site visit. I think go back to the elevation, the proposed elevation. That's really the gist of it right there. I think I think it looks better, not as tall. I know you thought that it was amassing the house in the last meeting somewhat, but I think that the site visit probably helped in showing that the house is very awkward the way it is with that long section in the middle. And it kind of brings the living part of the house into the middle of the house.
So the larger portion of the new addition with the gable that's facing us on the bottom, with the 3 windows on the top and the 2 on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So that, you just brought the height down, or did you bring the sides in? What changed there? from
We
the
brought
original?
we brought the height of the gable that's with the 3 windows on the top, with the 2 kitchen windows on the bottom. We brought that down.
And so the portion to the left of that
The bathroom.
didn't change, because it looks like that probably stayed the same, but the other portion came down.
I believe it came down also. I can confirm.
It looks like that volume narrowed as well?
Yeah. And, I can bring that to whatever is feasible to get into that room. It's just, height-wise.
What's the pitch of that roof? We don't see an elevation looking that way, so it's hard to say what it's.
I think it's I think I know that. I think it's the 412, well, yeah, it says right here. It's a, can you see that? I can't see it. See that little?
It's 412.
412. He's pretty careful at making the gable pitches that's in the house. I mean, it's similar to the gable that's in the front. Do you know what I'm saying, the pitch? Usually try to match the pitches. The doors on the right elevation side, those 3 sets of 6-foot sliders changed to those small windows because that's a counter also, counter height. I don't think you can see that with the rock there.
You know what would be really helpful for me, Monica, when the hard copies come, is if we could get existing above and then proposed below for each elevation. It's hard for me to see what's changing here and what's existing. When I
On
went
the
out,
same page.
yeah, when I went out to the site, I could kind of visualize what, the first floor looked like, and I can see, I kind of see what the changes are, but I'm just not, I'm not sure what's new and what's,
Go backwards
and what's in,
existing.
and what's existing, so,
The page, oh, see, there's the existing.
yeah.
And
them stacked.
you want them stacked.
Yeah, it's just on the same page, or just, I could tear the pages if you can't get on the same page, but,
We can do that.
yeah, it just,
Do that on the computer.
so then I can look at the different, the height, the ridge heights and what's changing there and what you're working with.
Mike, if you're thinking that back section, that you'd like to see that lower, I'll make it lower at the same time.
Well, it's hard to say. If you can go back to the actual proposal, so this portion over here is what I'm referring to.
Yes, I understand.
Because that's almost as much roof here as we've got there. So it's hard
Well,
to see what that's actually doing.
I actually think if that got lowered, it would look better anyway, because there's so much roof above the older part of the house than the new part. You know what I'm saying? See how the gable is down? It would make it seem less, if you even, I understand that you can see it from the street, but we're looking at it dead on from the side. I don't know if you,
Well, I think you'll see a lot of this from the street approaching this way.
I think you'll see the section that has the triple window with the double window, but when it gets beyond that and it starts heading towards the garage, I don't think you can see that. But,
I disagree. Being out there after seeing it over the weekend, I think you'll definitely see that.
Mhm.
I mean, you won't see it
yeah, I
looking in that
understand.
direction, but you're going to see it
Right.
this way.
Yeah, you will see that from the street.
Do you know how much the portion behind it is stepped back from the 3 over the 2? What the step back is behind it? Like, is it a foot, is it 2 feet?
I'll find out.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many modifications that are happening here
I
that,
think it's on the same plane as the area with that bay window. I think they're matched, but I couldn't confirm that. I'd have to confirm it. I think that the new gable is forward
Okay.
at the same, two areas on either side are at the same plane, but I'll confirm it.
Monica, I want to make sure we give you as much guidance as we can so you can do some drawings for the next time.
That's
But,
good.
we're also running pretty late here on the agenda, so I want to keep things moving as quickly as we can. Any more comments for Monica on?
Yeah,
you know,
I have one other.
Yep.
The small windows upstairs, you have them in the bathroom, you have them in the master bedroom. Is there any way to make them, they just look sort of,
There's not a lot of height there since we brought the roof down. He said that to me, but I can see if I can make them bigger.
so the window in the back, in the bathroom?
Yes.
Is by the bathtub, right?
Yep.
So, and on the other side, what do you have over there on the other side? You have on the front, you have 3 small windows. And you have a countertop, so if you made that one larger window instead of 3 small ones?
In the kitchen, on the rock side.
No, I'm talking upstairs,
above.
in the
Yeah.
master bath. Am I the only one that thinks that those windows look funky? To me, they just,
You have a lot of sidewall
Yeah,
and very little window.
okay.
to me, that just looks really,
But that is behind that rock and the tree. It's fairly, it would not be an obtrusive look if there is difficulty there.
But I want it to be,
no, but if you look at
I know what you're saying.
this window here, this window right here, change that window to even a window like this. Instead of having 3 windows across, maybe just have
Sure.
1 window.
Okay.
The other side.
Oh, yeah, so was I, Justin.
Yep.
We'll work on that side too.
Do you think that those 3 small windows up there look, to me, they look,
A little short.
yeah.
The egress, oh,
Need laser pointers.
Yeah, we do.
the egress window in the front, is that gonna be within the existing casing dimensions?
Yes, it might be a little bit wider. It's longer than it needs to be
I mean,
to meet egress.
it's taller than it needs to
Taller
be,
than it needs to be.
but in the width, it's gonna be a little bit wider?
Right.
What is a little bit?
It's proposed to be a 32.
Okay.
Right now, it's 27.
Got it.
Monica, I think this one, because of the major changes that are happening here, and so we understand the context of what you're doing to the existing original house and to what has been added to this house, that I think a physical model would be helpful, I think, for all of us here to understand what's going on there, because these drawings are hard to understand, sort of the portion with the 3 small windows as it attaches and what the mass of that is as it relates to the main house, but not only as to that, but as the rest of the house sort of drops down towards the back. I
Okay.
mean, there's so many pieces happening here.
Yes.
I think that's a good suggestion. Can we give Monica some guidance on the 3rd floor window, the main house? If,
Well, window versus dormer. Because I wouldn't change the front window in the gable if they allowed the dormer. If the dormer isn't allowed, then I have to change the front window.
Okay. Is there a, can we just get a quick read on the 3rd floor
Front window
gable?
change.
Yeah, would people prefer the window change versus the
Yes.
going into the roof? Okay.
Fine.
Is that, I don't want
Dormer comes.
to, you okay with that?
That's a great window, it's too bad to lose
Okay.
it.
What else?
And still, I mean, it's on both sides, the small windows, also the 3 small windows that you have in
Rear.
the master bedroom. I understand why they're there when I look at the drawings. But even if you put a window at the end of that walk-in closet, for instance, and got some kind of symmetry up there,
Okay.
Is this on the right elevation?
it's on the right elevation, yes.
Okay.
So on the right elevation, you have the 2 small windows, and then you have the 3 small windows, right?
Right.
The 2 small ones are above the bathtub it looks like it, in the master bathroom. And the 3 small ones, I assume, is because of the headboard. What if you had just 1, or maybe even put 3 windows up there, so you had 2 windows on both sides?
Yep, I hear you.
And then maybe put a window in the walk-in closet, so you created the symmetry?
Sure.
I
That's
just
the
think that those
elevation that-
windows look,
Yeah,
to
that's
me,
your
very
side.
contemporary.
Want them separated? Would you like them to be separated too? Because they're,
Is that a tight mole? Yeah. I mean, a mole pocket is certainly okay, but a tight mole isn't. So the 3 windows, you said because of a headboard? What about 2 over 2 at the
yeah, I'll fix it.
Okay.
No worries.
the side tables?
Yep,
At the
no worries.
bedside tables?
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, questions for us? Got enough to go on?
We do.
Okay,
Good, thank
all
you.
right, thank you.
So I'll just stand right here. I'm also going to bring some hardscape plan next meeting. They were supposed to send it to me, but they didn't send it to me in time.
Okay, so we do have drawings of this garage, correct? Okay. Thanks for being there last Saturday for show us the site. That helped out a lot.
So these are the Sprangers. They live at 100 Main.
How are you?
They're new.
Welcome.
So this is 100 Main, obviously Victorian, the Mary Lincoln House, 1888. So it's a pretty house with the turret. Everyone's familiar with it, I'm sure. Has a lot of Victorian details, staggered shingles, fish shingles on the top, the staggered in the middle, and then clapboards on the bottom. It has a lot of recessed panels, a lot of little fan details, all the things that you find in a Victorian house. And the windows are all pretty special in that they have the small squares around the upper window and then blank on the bottom. Throughout the whole house, like in the back and the sides, everywhere they have that window. So their proposed project is they want to add a 2-car detached garage, 2-story, at the end of their existing driveway. And we were all out there on Saturday, so we saw that. They also want to demolish the existing garage, which is behind the house, which you guys saw, and they want to change the color of the house, paint it. So there's an existing plot plan that shows the plot plan with the existing garage and no garage where they want to place their garage. And that's, there's the garage that they want to demo. And the, after our site visit, so on the proposed, there's the proposed. On the proposed, the Sprangers, after looking at it with the hill and the retaining wall and all the issues that were being talked about, decided to pull the garage forward to decrease the amount of the hill that would be disturbed by the garage. So they, they have Cavanero Consulting as their engineer. So they went out there, they figured out the elevations of the hill to the garage and what that would mean if they pulled it forward. They also made sure that they would have the ability to use that garage. That deck is coming off, and whether that would give them what they needed for their side yard, that they want to have a level yard.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm
Is
sorry.
this-
That's
Is that the update, or is this the update?
That's the update.
That
That's
is?
the update. So the garage is 24 feet wide. There's no elevation, there's no rock wall on the left, there's no retaining wall on the left. It's designed so that the hill will come into the foundation. The foundation will be structural and will hold the slope up from the church side down to that at about 5.5 feet, 5 to 5.5 feet. The back will also support the hill because the hill becomes much less. And on the right side of the garage, they will continue to propose a retaining wall to hold the hill so that they can have a flat yard between the hill and the back of their property. There'll be French drains. In this picture, this is the picture we took at the site visit. So those lanterns are representing how far forward the garage is going to come. The back stake, the back arrows are where the garage was going to be. Now it's coming forward by 8 feet. And that's what's on the proposed site plan.
Do the back arrows stay where we saw them on
No, the
Saturday?
back arrows
They're
come
moving forward.
by the distance between the front stake and the arrow.
And that's 8 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
The rest of the hill will remain intact. The vegetation will remain intact, the trees, everything will remain intact. This property next door, which you guys are familiar with, all that, there's the stake of the Sprangers' property. they own that whole parking area behind their garage. The owner of the other house, the neighbor's house, he's aware of that, he's fine with that. He's the one building the garage on the opposite side of his house in the hill. So that land there will be taken back by the Sprangers as part of their property. So the proposed garage height is 24.5. The size of the garage is 24 by 30. The roof pitch is 10 by 12, which matches the other pitches. We are proposing to do either a staggered shingle above or a fish shingle that's on the third floor above the, on the top part of the garage. It has a cross gable. The trim detail would match the existing trim detail. There's a wide piece of trim detail separating the top from the bottom on the house, and it will also remain on the garage. The window pattern of the windows in the top, I was proposing that we match the same windows that are in the house.
What do you call that pattern? Is there a name for
There
that?
probably is.
We don't know, there's okay. Out of curiosity.
I like to call it chiclets, all right? They look like chiclets, all right? Chiclets around the edge. But I checked with JB Sash, they have that window, we can do that. I had it put on the elevation, but I wasn't sure if you guys might say, nope, this garage is subservient to the house, so we want it to be simpler, or if you wanted to say, yes, match the Victorian detail of it. Same with the garage doors. I had two feelings about it. Are they plain or are they carriage house doors? Back to the lighting thing. The two lights that I proposed for the lanterns are both styles that were gas fed, so for the 1800s. So I think either one of them would be appropriate, and whatever anyone had an opinion or the Sprangers thought was best for them. The change in color. Okay, so the change in color. So these are all approved California paint colors for Victorians 1840 to 1905. The body of the house, there's the example they painted on there. They want it to be cottage green. The trim would be Jewett white. And then the accents and the door would be China Aster, which is that bluish purple color. And they chose that color because inside the house there's an old wooden floor that's painted the China Aster. So they thought that that was fitting. So the little details, the little banding around the recessed panels, up in that triangle, see how it's so plain up there? They didn't do the banding on the triangle. I would suggest that we would do all the banding. There's a couple of ornamental brackets in the back of the house that, in the very back behind where the garage is. But the detail of the house continues all the way around the house. So anywhere where there's a small detail, we would propose to do the China Aster. I think that's it.
Good. Any questions from the audience?
We have to.
Any abutters?
We're representing Old Ship.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
You want to come up to the microphone and just state your name and...
Yep. I'm Mark Lara from 12 Oakland Ave. I'm the co-chair of the building committee for Old Ship.
Okay.
And as you saw, the property, it is a very steep hill
Yep.
that we're cutting into. So I did some... So it's 49 feet to the top of the hill, and then it drops to the street around 25. So there's about a 20-foot distance. And when they put the driveway in, do you have that?
The elevation?
Plane, yeah.
Yeah, sure. The proposed elevation?
Right.
Has the,
That yellow plan, no, the yellow plan, that one there.
This one.
Nope, the,
This one.
yes. So as you can see, that area, I believe that top line is around 49 feet. And then the whole driveway coming down to the street is around 25 at that elevation. So they've cut into the side as to put in the driveway to begin with. So that that side of that old ship going up to the bell tower is very steep.
Yep.
So that just has to be considered, and to a certain extent, we may need to have a retaining wall going down the driveway to maintain that hill.
Okay.
Because the tower, as you can see, roughly where it is a large structure that is going to put a strain on that spot.
Okay. Thank you. Monica, has the Cavanaro that's done the engineering work, so maybe we can get some of that.
Well, that's their proposal, but
Okay.
you would want them to write it up or something, or?
I'm just wondering if it might address Old Ship's concerns
Oh, okay.
versus the, what would be required, if there's anything more in terms of a retaining wall, or if that, going into that hill is going to cause any issues structurally for the...
They felt, I will do that, they felt, when I talked to Cavanaro, they felt that by pulling the garage forward, that it was lessening even the need for the Sprangers to have a retaining wall, that as long as the side wall of the garage was structurally engineered, that it would hold it and it would slope down and hit that. They didn't seem to think that there was anything more that needed to happen, but they did say that they want the foundation to be engineered by a structural engineer, which it would be anyway.
Would there be a site plan review or anything like this, Andrea, that would be required in addition to our review? Like, would there be,
You mean with
with respect?
planning board?
Yeah, with respect to Old Ship and just given the,
I don't think so, but I will double check.
okay.
But perhaps Mr. Cavanaro would be willing to write something up with respect to that side of the property.
Sure.
Right, an assessment of an impact or lack thereof on the driveway and bell tower.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Just out of curiosity. What's the grade of height right here? Is that 15 feet? Is that what it says?
15.1 it says.
So how, what is that side going to be? Is that just going to be a concrete, like,
Yeah, that's what's proposed.
Do you have any floor plans or any other elevations of this structure? I mean, it's hard to provide constructive comments without being able to see it in its entirety, because I think, the general proportions of this seem a little off. It seems a little tall, but it's hard to put that in perspective as it turns the corner around the other side. And I don't know whether, the Old Ship property is technically considered a public way, but if it is, you'll certainly see that clearly from that side. So I think we need to put all the pieces together and see this thing as it goes all the way around. And
But I think that that's fine, except that in order to do that and to see the impact of that side on the side of that thing, I need to know where that's gonna be. Because, when it was 8 feet back, we were gonna have a big retaining wall to the left. We tried to lessen that and by moving it forward. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, is the side have a retaining wall? Does the side have a slope going into a foundation? Is it just the side that's, oh, I know what you're saying.
you have to
Yeah,
tell
I know
us.
what you're gonna say. I got it.
Additional elevations.
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
and my concern would be, and they should be, might be your concerns too. If you have 15 feet here, you have 15 feet over here, correct?
Oh, I think
That is a lot, that's a lot of water that's gonna be pooling in here.
I think that's a setback, no.
Setback.
5 feet tall from the baseline.
Yes, that's
So,
50.
based on the contour lines, it looks like it's 102 at the very front where the car would drive in and 110 at that back corner.
The 15.1 is how far off it is so that it doesn't.
Oh, that's a setback?
Looks like it's about 8 feet differential between
So is that 11 feet here?
110. 110, and then the front of the garage is, I believe, 102. It's hard for me to see the 102, but I think that's what it says at the front of the garage. So it would be an 8-foot differential. The slope of the hill.
You know, the other thing here, Monica, is this drawn to scale? Okay. If we could get a visual with the main house relative to this, just to kind of see the perspective of the two buildings, I can't, on its own, I can't really tell if this is gonna work with the main house. You know what I mean? It's like, I just see one building here, and I need to be able to put it in context.
I think what I did last time this came up on the Dolan's garage
Yeah?
is from across the street, I took a picture of the house, and then I had the actual 2-scale photoshopped into it at where it was going to be.
Okay.
I think that was helpful.
So that angle would be good, and then the angle going, from downtown, looking up a little bit from the old ship side at that side, because that's gonna be the visual side. I don't think we're gonna see the right side too much.
Did we determine that that's a right-of-way that you?
I think it's a public way up to the bell tower. So, but even down on Main Street, I think you're gonna be able to look up and see that.
Don't forget also, they're bordering the cemetery.
It's just that perspective.
Cemetery.
Hold on just a second. That perspective of the house and building, we'll see, all right, do we have the proportions right? Is the scale right? Is the height right? Are the angles right? Because there's a lot going on in the main house, too.
The house, yeah, and I'm good with that. The house is tall,
Okay.
so I think it'll all shake out.
Yep.
For me, I'd like to see more dimensions.
Okay.
So you have the overhead garage doors, above that is a bell or a flare, a shingle flare?
Yes.
I want to know what's the distance of the shingle above that before it gets to that fascia board?
Okay.
And I think just to add to that, as it goes up where there's the trim board coming across, what, is that proud, is that flush, what are the details there? Because I see what you're trying to do, make a connection with the existing house, which I think is a good thing, but I think that house is so unique, a lot of those details are so unique that I think it's gonna be critical to get these details right. Now, that's
Yeah.
not to say they need to be exactly the same.
No, I know. Don't get it cutter.
It's important, particularly on the structure.
Yep, that's fine.
The other thing I'd say, Monica, is I can't really tell the dimensions of the doors and the two sides, but it looks thin, just looking at this snapshot. It looks like there should be for 24 feet. Are these 10-foot garages? Are they 9 in width? But it just looks like, I don't know, there's
I don't think you like the space between the trim above the doors and the space up at the top.
It just might not be enough,
Proportion?
like, 18 inches or, I can't really tell on the sides what, between the doors and the edge of the building, how much there is there. And in between, maybe it needs to be a little bit more substantial too. It's hard to tell from this, but.
Are you saying you don't want a light in the center then?
No, I think
Oh,
the
okay.
light would be fine. I don't know if that centerpiece is wide enough, and maybe some dimensions there will help us
Okay.
understand that. It just seems like it's stretched a little bit.
It looks very tall, but I don't know if that's because of the way it's been put on
Yeah.
the screen. It's hard to say.
Okay.
But dimensions would be very helpful.
We asked for
Yeah,
the
it does
additional
look-
sides, right?
Yeah, the
Right,
other
from back.
elevations,
Yeah, all four elevations,
All four sides.
Yeah.
interior layout,
floor plan, yeah.
floor plan.
Where it's proposed to be, so that wherever the hill is coming into the building, so you can see it.
Yeah, and if you have doors that are coming off the sides, all that should be shown.
Yep.
And I think it would also be good to show how the stonework is going to come into the back foundation in terms of the grade. That's all going to tie in, and maybe instead of exposed concrete, you may want to consider stone or something there that could be put on the face of the sides. I don't know how much it's going to be showing here with the grade. It's
Right.
tough to tell, but that might let one look interesting.
Sure. But the stone wall on the right-hand side, you want to know the material, but remember, you can't see it from the street at all, the retaining wall that's proposed for the right side of the garage.
Is that in the back on
Yeah.
the right?
Well, you'll be able to see that from the bell tower.
I think it's, I don't know. I'll see. I don't think you will, because it's not going to be behind the garage, it's going to be beside the garage.
Just think when you walk up that way to the cemetery, it will be...
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. Okay.
And any more comments on this? Any comments on the demo of the garage? You had a chance to go in and take a look at it.
I think that can be demoed.
And, okay.
I feel comfortable with the demo, yeah.
Perhaps we can move forward with the demolition today.
How about the color?
Color?
No, I would propose, there's some other information that I would like to provide regarding painting Victorian houses.
Okay.
So I can get that to
Okay. Wasn't it just painted in the last 5 years or so? Wasn't it?
you. I think it was longer than that.
Yeah, okay. I remember it being a different color.
Yeah, it did change color. I thought it was 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, maybe so.
It was painted 2009, but only one of the colors is a historic color. The other two are not on the
I'm sorry, thank you. Were there any more comments from the audience? I'm sorry.
Just a question on the driveway. Is
Yep.
there any plan of expanding that driveway to the right, to widen it?
But I think, actually, you raised a good point. I think a hardscape plan is going to be important for this too, to understand where that wall comes in and if there's going to be any expansion of that driveway.
And just a point of interest, I believe the cemetery is planning on applying for CPC funds to redo that entrance into the cemetery from the bell tower. So that would be additional access, public access.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other questions, thoughts? You want to make a motion on the demolition?
Is it, okay?
These guys might want to say something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, we bought a home in Hingham because we love the history of Hingham. We drive through this town, it feels fantastic, and so we appreciate what you do for us and look forward to moving forward in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness, 100 Main Street, demolition of existing two-car garage off the rear of the house. Is the deck included in that? In material?
You're not taking the deck down?
The deck is coming off, just so they have the swing,
Okay, all right.
For the swing.
so it's okay. for the-
Okay, yep.
Including the rear deck. This is demolition only, would be no foundation work or, right.
Okay, second? Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, good. Get started. Thank you. So we'll see you next time then, Monica?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Thanks for waiting too.
Oh, yes, thank you very much.
That's okay.
Sometimes what they do, yeah, but sometimes what happens is that.
All right.
Yeah, and the person who approved that
Where did my agenda go?
say anything different.
Sorry.
So that's-
All right, next we have 6 Clark Road. Heidi Condon's here to talk about some modifications to the rear of the house and the demolition of an existing garage and the construction of a new garage. How are you?
Good evening.
Tom Studebaker.
Hi.
See you guys.
They've been there 2 years. Years. They've been at 6 Clark Road. They've got 4 children in this home, and which is one reason why we're here this evening. It's a beautiful home. This is the view from Main Street. It's a little artificial because we are up on the yard. This is the portion of Main Street that starts sloping down, so you don't get as clear an image. It's a beautiful home. This is the view from Clark Road. So it's much more even here. It's a flat elevation. And this is where there have been, you can start to see some of the modifications on this home. Originally a doctor's home and his office. Andrea's just passing if anyone wants to see the larger scale drawings. I just find them easier to read. So this was originally the entrance to his home office where he saw patients. But we can tell that there are some funky modifications because there's several levels of roof line, one hidden by another. So we think there were some additions at one point here. We are not touching, so basically from this side entry towards Main Street, we are not touching the home. We are not touching the view from Main Street. All of this will remain as is. This shows, if you travel down Clark a little bit further, you'll see these 2 hipped roof wings were completed in 1989 and did go through the board at the time. They were sleeping porches originally. So there was a volume there, but the homeowners then filled that in. But to my eye, I feel in 2018 that's really not historically in keeping with the rest of the house, which are the gables and the Queen Anne stick details. This is the garage. We're not quite sure when this was built, but this has absolutely nothing to do with the house. So we are proposing to take this down. It's so small, it's hard to get a car in. And you'll see on our drawings, we're proposing a new 24 by 25 foot garage. And again, we are mimicking the details from the main house. You can see on our drawings with the existing conditions, we've left this garage in the elevation, so you can see how the scale's kind of off as well. And then with our proposed elevations, we've shadowed our proposed garage. So this shows our site plan. You can see the slope where Main Street is, and we really are doing nothing on that front elevation. On Clark Road, we are proposing just a new covered entry at the side entry, because right now you'll see when we go out to the site, there are just multiple layers, and there was something going on, and we can't tell what came first, but it's messy. We are proposing then an addition on the side and rear, and where you can see the orange bay window, we are mimicking exactly the same dormer addition that's on Clark Road. So here you can see from Main Street, the only thing that I really don't even think is visible is the 1-story addition that is the kitchen. But as you'll see when we visit the site and you're walking down, that is so far back, I don't believe you're going to see that. Nothing else is being changed on this front elevation. This is the side elevation. So you can see again the main gable, that's 2.5 stories. We are not touching that. But we are adding a gable to the side entry because right now it feels pushed back in an odd way. And then you can see we've added a gable to replace the hip that was constructed in 1989. And then we have a new gable that will come straight out towards the side. Here we've shown, you can see kind of the shadow elevation of the existing garage and then our proposed garage. And in that proposed garage, we are exactly copying that same, I don't know what we'd really call it, but it's this beautiful, almost a brow detail above the windows, and that's on multiple elevations of the house, and is an original detail. So this is, if you go farther down Clark Road and you see the side elevation, this is where you really see the two hip roofs from 1989. And the second one that has the skylights also has a completely flat rubber roof up there. So we're proposing to take all that down. And we're replacing it with the gable that you see facing Clark that I just showed on the other elevation. And then this new 2.5-story gable is exactly the same proportions, same windows, and same details of that gable detail that's on Clark Road. We are proposing just a covered walkway to the new garage, and we will have a gabled second floor you can see here, and that's going to be a home office for Tom. And so right now we only have a gable dormer facing in towards the Studebaker's property. We have moved this garage out of the corner. It's currently a pre-existing non-conforming location. So after we go through the process with the historic board, we will be going in front of zoning. But we are making it less of a non-conforming structure than the current structure. And we're pulling it forward, so I'm pulling it out of the rear setback. So you can see here again on the garage, we're using carriage-style garage doors. They will be solid, wood. We're mimicking that eyebrow detail in the shutters, and I love these windows that are, the 6/2. Those are original throughout the house, and those will be wood windows. And again, we'll look at either the Marvin or the Colby, both products that the board approves. Then we just, similar to the last time I was here, we were just looking at other garages in the neighborhood that have the gable detail. So these were, again, mimicking details. This one I thought was so interesting because it has a very similar brow detail on top of these windows. So this is just more vernacular from the neighborhood.
Where's that one, Heidi?
This one,
Lincoln Street?
this one Lincoln? I can't remember which one, where I took this.
Is that, yeah, that is, okay.
This
Yeah.
one? Thank you.
Keeps coming up.
Third time.
And we just thought, we just love the detail of it, how it mimics the details of the main house. Here again, we really, really like the gable facing the street. Another gable, and this one has dormers. This one also has the dormer facing into the property. And this is just a symmetrical one. This one is on Middle Street.
That one looks familiar.
Yes, we've looked at all of these before. So that's kind of going through the drawings that you have in place. I also have, we emailed it Monday, but I printed our material brochures for everybody. And I don't think we'll get to this in this hearing, but we can certainly talk about them when we do our site visit. And many of the items, we certainly would like the board's opinion and talk about, what are the historically appropriate. So we are adding 1,200 square feet to this home. It's currently about 3,400 square feet. We are adding on all 3 floors. As I said, Pauline and Tom have 4 children, and right now the house is kind of bursting at the seams. So our goal was to really take the beautiful vernacular of this Queen Anne home and mimic it. We wanted to eliminate that 2-story shed addition, or it's really more hip and the flat roof, because it just doesn't seem appropriate.
So, and it's adding 1,200 to 3,400.
Yes. And that's on your, right here on the A1, so you can see the breakdown where we added it in the floor. And I think, this evening, we really want to kind of introduce the board to our design, and I think a lot of it will make much more sense when we're out at our site meeting, to understand the views from Main Street and Clark Road, to understand what the current 1989 addition really does to the house, because when you turn that corner, it doesn't look like the same house. And our goal is to take, the 2.5-story dormer that's on the Main Street and Clark Road and wrap it to the side elevation. And we love this. You can see here to the left of the side door is a really interesting kind of shallow bay that is currently, it's a walk-in bay in the dining room, and that's what we're mimicking all the way to the right with our this new room, which is a family room. So it's the same bay detail. And again, we've used the same kind of brow detail where the plate height, the break is, where the gable starts, and we've used all the same windows.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions from the audience? Okay. Discussion? Initial comments?
I have both. We take a look at the, oh, there, you have the elevation there. The pitch on the garage, I might have a different print than what is up there. Mine shows a 12/12 for the garage.
Yes, and that's 12/12. The one at the top is the existing garage,
Right,
and that should say 12/12.
okay.
I think proportionally, there's something going on with that screen. because
Right.
It was similar issues on
Yeah, I know, 'cause I
I think.
Maybe because it's on such a.
Is it angled?
This is the same as that.
But the large-scale drawings that I passed out are
Yes.
identical to
This-
what you have, and so it should be a 12/12.
It's like this thing's getting stretched.
Yeah, something's happening in the display.
It is meant to be a 12/12.
Okay,
And that's the pitch of all the high gables of the existing house. And then the current screen porch that you can see here on the Clark Road that faces Main Street, that's a 4/12. So whenever we have a lower pitch, we use the 4/12. So we've used the two roof pitches on the existing house.
okay. The, so at that side entry, above the gable ridge there is pointing to that fixed light window.
Yes.
And then you have a shed roof, and that shed roof actually rises above the gable to the right, and so you have a cheek wall. Is there a reason? Did you need to do that?
Only, I could probably, Laura, you can see it here. I think we were just trying to get, I just want to look at the larger drawing of what that pitch is.
Oh, can you grab that?
It says 4.
But I want to look on the side. It might be easier to show you on this one. On this side. So you can see it's a 4/12. I could probably go to a 3/6 and Michael Clancy would accept it.
Well, I'm wondering what would happen when you came down to this here, so you were avoiding this.
That's what I'm saying. I think
Okay, it drops the
a
pitch.
3/6.
It drops the pitch
Because
too much.
I don't want to.
You don't want
change
rubber
material.
roof, right, okay.
I'm trying to eliminate the
Okay.
rubber. So really, I was trying to stick with the roof pitch that I know Mr. Clancy will accept.
Correct, and so it would be an asphalt
Yes.
roof.
But I agree with you. I'd like to get rid of that if I can, but I would ask Mr. Clancy if he would accept a 3'6". For what Ben and I are discussing, the roof pitch, when you work with asphalt, it is not recommended to go below like a 4/12 pitch. And I agree with Ben, if I can get it a little bit lower, maybe to a 3.5, and Michael will still accept it. If it gets too low and it's asphalt, you're susceptible to ice dams and water issues, which we really would like to avoid.
Sure.
And he won't let me build that anyways. So I can only do a 312 if it's unheated, like a porch or something that's not exposed to, expansion and contraction and heat and cooling. So that's more of a construction detail.
What is the material, just one more question, back to that fixed light, just above it, you've got a fascia board there? Is that just a tall fascia board?
Yeah, we thought it might look strange if I had too much, shingle, but I could certainly do one full shingle course.
Well, I'm wondering if that
You're
eave,
talking about this little piece here.
correct, I'm wondering if the eave can come down to help you still maintain your four-pitch,
That's true, I might be able to bring this down to here.
and then you won't have that white space.
Yeah. I think that's a good suggestion to pull that down. And that will help improve my pitch.
Right, yes.
Ben, have you ever done like a 4.75, like?
In asphalt?
Yeah.
Yes, but when we tighten up the exposure, but that will have a different look.
Yeah.
And different shingle manufacturers have different recommendations, so you'd have to be careful about what manufacturer you chose.
And then you would do like race and water shield the whole thing?
Yeah, as long as, and the manufacturer will specify,
Okay.
yeah.
Let me just show this to everybody else. What Ben and I are discussing is ideally we'd like to bring, this kicks out at a different pitch. So if I can bring it down to here and start the new pitch and bring this down to here and get rid of that wide fascia, all of this, it's all still the same color, the asphalt, it's just kicked out, and it'll disappear more if I can get that lower, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it all kind of
Slides down.
slides down, so that will be the goal, that we can still maintain a 412 roof pitch.
I think you've done a nice job adding on to a pretty unique house. Obviously, that can be pretty tricky. Did you consider, so if I'm looking at the Clark Road elevation in the larger portion off to the right, dropping that just a little bit below the main
Because then
house
it won't,
ridge?
my proportions change. I was trying to match it, and I have very challenging ceiling heights up in the attic now. So I know that's typically what we try and do, but then my proportions won't match this elevation. So my goal was literally to take this, and that's what this elevation, and that's what this is. If I lower it,
Right.
none of this will line up. None of my brackets, none of my eaves, everything will not match. I mean, our goal was, if the original owner, the doctor, had 4 children, this is what he would do. He would just mimic what he already had on the Clark Road elevation.
Do you have elevations of, I guess it's the left side? Are
Yeah.
those in the?
This is this side, you mean? This is the side, so if you walk down Clark Road, this is what you would see. The other one is Main Street.
You think
Right.
the Main Street side?
The Main Street side.
Yeah. That's the first, that should be the first one in your elevation.
So the other view, the other angle on Main Street. So if you're coming up Main Street, you're probably gonna see, I don't know what the vegetation's like over here, but you'll probably see, this.
You can't see any of it. I mean, we'll show you at the site. It's so steep. If you look at your site plan,
So it's low and it's going up.
It's, this is so steep, you really, you can't see the back. I mean, I can bring this when we meet at the site.
I think if
but
you
it's really
can,
hard to see.
if you've
It's
got
almost
it, it just kind of
impossible.
helps put all the context together. And the other question I had was in regard to the garage. And is there a way, it almost seems a little top-heavy. Did you look at a different pitch or bringing the height down a little bit?
I could certainly try a 10-12. I just felt like I have so many busy roof lines. I wasn't sure if I wanted to throw in another, but I can certainly do a 10-12 and we can look at it at the site. But I think that is so subtle, unless you work with those two pitches, you probably wouldn't notice. But that would certainly bring it down.
Because not only this elevation sort of looking straight on, but the side elevation all the way to the left, I mean proportionately, and I know you're looking at it straight on, and in reality, you're gonna be looking
Yeah.
at it at an angle, but there's,
Yeah.
you know, 2/3
I agree, there's a
roof,
lot of
1/3.
roofs, so I'd like to try a 10-12. I think an 8-12 would just be too low and too disparate from the other roof pitches on the property.
So I'd just like to add one thing, and just, that's in line with what Mike said, and that would be that this addition in the ridge, if a study can be done of when that, if that could be lower, you know, for us, additions need to be diminutive to the main body.
So,
You're gonna have to go one slide back, I think, to see.
yeah, well, so that's the 2.5-story addition.
Yeah.
That's kind of shaded in shingle. So basically that would, if I don't want to change the roof pitch, I would be dropping the plate.
And then your eave lines are no longer matching.
Yeah. So right now they line up here. So if I drop that, like right now I try to align, you can see here, you know, this relationship and this relationship match, and especially when I bring this down, it'll be even more obvious.
Right,
I think
and
I
it
want
wraps.
these, so what we're talking about is it's this one.
Right.
If I lower it, I'm also gonna have an issue maintaining the height of the windows, because it's very close. And primarily because it has these deep brackets with the large overhang. So that's what I'd be concerned, how I would lose this detail of the header trim.
Right, exactly.
It would all be below my soffit.
Are there any other 10 pitches, or are they all 12s?
They're all 12.
Except the entry, the proposed new
Yeah,
side
and
entry.
I lowered that because
The window.
it looked silly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so having that match the garage, I think, would be nice. So you're proposing if I try a 10-12 on that other gable and just see what it does?
A study.
So that's
It's gonna narrow your windows there. Is that a bedroom?
Yes.
Okay,
So they meet egress.
right.
So I can certainly try that, and we can look at it at the site meeting. Because then at least I'm not moving my plate.
Right, well, site perspective is everything. This is a bit unfair
I know.
for us
Unfair.
to look straight on at it like this. So
Yeah.
certainly a site visit's gonna be very helpful.
So again, what Ben and I are discussing, if I change this pitch, I don't need to change this relationship, which is wrapping around the whole house. What we're hoping is if I do this, it will make this addition diminutive to the main house, but hopefully not change the overall proportions that I'm mimicking.
And hopefully you can keep the These in the head height inside.
Yeah, because that is one of their children's bedrooms. And I'd hate to lose these two windows, because this is on
What
the
if that
other.
became just one window instead of a double?
It could be one. I believe on the Main Street, I have one. Now that one's much smaller, I don't want to go that small.
Right.
But I could do one, if that was okay, because we do have the windows on the back.
I think the proportions are looking a lot better and are more understandable in the hard copies than up here. I mean, I'm getting thrown every time I look up here at that kind of everything looks very stretched and peaky, cottagey, just, but if you look here, it doesn't,
Because we're literally mimicking the gables and the roof lines of the existing home.
yeah. I would just echo something that Mike said about the garage, and it just feels like from the Clark Road side, there's a lot of, they're just, when you look at it head-on, there just seems to be a lot of roof showing. But I see what you got to tie in with your connector to the main house, so I don't know how you would achieve that with making that, if that wall was a little bit higher on the garage, and then I think you probably want to keep the same pitch. I think you probably want to work with that 12-12 again.
I don't mind trying the 10-12 that Ben proposed.
Yeah.
Because I do, as Ben said, it is on the side entry gable.
But
And we're trying to keep the overall height of the garage lower, which is why, in technical terms, the plate, where the roof meets the wall, is as low as I can go.
But when I look at this head-on proportionally, it looks good. It looks like,
Because I think the existing garage looks too tiny. It has nothing, it has no relationship to the house.
no, I think I don't know what the differential between the ridge here and the peak, but it looks like it's, 7 or 8 feet maybe.
And Pauline and Tom have spoken with their neighbor to the right, the next home, and she's an older lady, and they said she was very positive. She didn't feel like she needed to come to the meeting, and she was thrilled that they were improving the home. And that was the one neighbor we were concerned about, because we're facing her side.
Yeah, so this is a real challenging project. There's so much going on here.
Yes.
I mean, I can tell how much time you spent on this, so.
It's a wonderful house, though. It has really beautiful detail inside and out. I mean, the more we looked at it, you really start to see these really interesting, mini brackets and details, and it really has a lot to offer, which is nice. And we just wanted to mimic those, so all four sides had the same feel to them.
Any questions down here?
Looks great.
I've got one question about the material. So on the drawings, on the connector and some of the low roofs, you indicate copper standing seam. In your spec sheet, you're suggesting it's a click-lock premium standing seam in Vermont slate color.
We were looking at both options, and we just wanted to, have a discussion with the board.
So is that Vermont slate color, is that painted, or is that sort of
The
a
factory
pre-patinated?
finish. But it comes that color. The metal.
So it's painted, it's not copper that's pre-patinated or
No.
anything like that? Okay.
But we can those were the two materials we thought could be really interesting. We just wanted to get the board's opinion.
I think, providing, I think it'd be good to see a sample of that in the color that you're proposing.
not sure how fast I would get that, depending on where site visit is, but I'll try and order it tomorrow.
Yeah, or even if it's at the next meeting.
Okay.
Heidi, since you offered a site visit,
When would you like to come by? When would you like to have breakfast on Park Road?
we didn't even ask.
Well, we like to have you visit the sites. I think it's really important. Since you love this neighborhood so much.
No, we'll come out. I guess so.
Can I ask about the connector?
Yes. You want to see it in plan or elevation?
I love everything that you're doing to the house, especially that elevation with what is currently there and what you're trying to change it to. Only thing is the connector, but that's, I'm one member.
It's a practical, it has a real function with 4 little children and a family of 6. And we don't want to pull the drop. So you can see this image, the current garage is in its existing location and it's non-conforming to the rear and front setbacks. So you can see how I've pulled the proposed garage forward to get it out of the rear setback. And we just, for practical purposes, wanted some cover. Is it the metal roof or is it the
To me, it's the
copper?
connector. It becomes an attached garage. But that's just how I feel. So I don't have a problem with the metal roof at all.
I think it's really a functional detail.
That would be my only concern in the whole thing. Besides the few points that were highlighted.
Is it the way the connector itself or the way the hip interacts?
To me, the connector then becomes an attached garage.
I see, okay.
You know, it's almost, it becomes sort of an attached garage and not a separate building in the back. That's what it is, or how I feel. What is the distance right now?
That's what I was just going
It's
to
on
measure.
It's right here. It's 22 feet roughly, right?
So,
Or 24 feet?
well, between the house addition, if you look on A1-1, it's 13 feet. Between the house and the garage, so it's the 2 bays to the addition, but if you add, it's 23 feet to the
Right, from
2.5
one door to
story
another.
corner.
Right.
We have done in the past also more of a trellis detail and used like a luan or something so we still have cover in between the beams. I don't know if a lighter feel that's more garden-y would be something that you would consider.
It's just a connector. You know, to me, I like my garage to be sort of subservient to the main building and not necessarily be connected. So that's the only thing.
What I also like about the connection, when you look at it in plan, it creates a beautiful courtyard in the back of the property. And with the 4 kids, and we're proposing a terrace, it gives them some privacy. And that, actually, when we're there, we can look across the street at the Joneses, and it creates an oasis for them, having it that's connected, and just having the privacy that the garage and the covered entry create. They feel like, they've got all the privacy in the world, but they can walk to town.
Tommaso, would you like to see a fence there, like
Personally, I would prefer to just see a fence there, to create that backyard feeling of privacy. I think it's just a little bit of a slippery road that we're trying to, that we're getting into with these connectors. When do we then put the connectors in, when do we not put them in? What is the distance between the main house and the garage before we put them in? And before we know it, it's an attached garage that we're doing it. So that's just me.
Okay,
So,
good. Anything else?
Thank you for the level of detail.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, so we'll get a date on the calendar then?
Yes, that would
Come
be
out?
terrific.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Are you going on vacation though soon? For
Monday.
Are you gone next weekend? So maybe after. Okay, good. So we can coordinate that. Is that the only weekend? Or we can email. Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Heidi.
No, I think, thank you, but good.
Okay,
Let me just get the,
we going again? Okay.
Oh, I'm going to keep this, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have 206 North Street. Sandifers are here. Thanks for waiting, guys. Sorry we're running a little bit late tonight. Had some technological issues earlier, so I apologize. So when were you in to see it? Was it 2 years ago?
We were just trying to figure that out. I think it was 2.5 years ago.
Yep. You like the third floor?
Love it.
Good.
You guys?
Roger did a nice job for you.
Want different lights?
Yeah.
Cool.
There you go.
Gotta wake up. Wow.
Sitting here with
We want to wait for Michael to come back.
Let's take a quick look. What's in the packet? Maybe you didn't get it.
You want us to wait for Michael, or you?
yeah.
Yeah. How are you, Roger?
Good, thank you.
Good?
Yes.
You busy?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 5 calls this week already.
Oh.
Call this morning, I said, a terrible fire in the house, and could you get right over to take a look at it? Jeez. And would you say yes to that, I guess?
Yeah, wow. It's too bad.
That works. Still having fun, which is it's all about.
All right.
Okay, so
Thanks again.
Tim and Jessica Sandifer, 206 North Street. And what we'd just like to show you, and it may make some sense to just show the context of this.
Can you turn the easel
Yep.
just a little bit like it?
I bet.
Perfect. Thank you.
So this is the house from Upper North Street down closer to town, and the back of the house as it is now. And then we thought it was sort of interesting that the 3 houses in a row, all of these with the same hip roof look. And these two houses, 200 and 202, have already been added to in a very similar fashion. I don't know if you see on this one,
It's actually a mirror image of the Sandifers, where the angle bay is on the west side, and their angle bay here is on the east side. But both of these, you can see, here's that four-square up in front, and there's the addition was put on. This is 200, this is 202, and then their house at 206, all three in a row. So what we're planning is to, with the 4 kids in the family, is to...
It's a theme today.
We have an addition going on the back of the house. The front of the house basically stays pretty much as is, as does this side, the driveway side. There are a couple of small window changes on this, on the right side as you're looking at it from North Street. And the addition is set back 3.2 feet from both corners. Part of that is to try to clear our setback requirement on this boundary, but also to separate the original four-square from the addition itself. This house in total, when we get finished, is, I think, 53 feet. This one right here is 49, and this one is 43. So there, and as I say, both of these, this was an addition here to this house, and it doesn't show, but this is a back addition for 200. So we're looking to create a kitchen and a bedroom on the second floor in this area, a laundry upstairs. Right now the laundry is in the basement with a 5.5-foot ceiling height, so it's a little bit of a task to use that space. So we have on that here's the first floor plan with the kitchen. The kitchen exists right now in this area here. Mudroom at this point, dining room, living room, porch, foyer, staircase, and basically this whole front section of the house remains as is. And then on the second level, there's a bedroom right now up in this corner, which is 6.5 feet by 9 feet, I think. So it's about 60 square feet. And then the bedroom 2, again, stays as it is bedroom 1. And their master then is up on the 3rd floor, which we finished several years ago. And so we're looking to add a laundry. This is an existing bathroom here, which we're sort of reconfiguring. Another bathroom for the kids, and then instead of a 60 square foot bedroom, this would be a 180 square foot bedroom over the top of the kitchen. And then because of the look of the four-square and the hip roof here, we have right now in the master, we have 3 windows that look out over the back towards the railroad tracks. And our intention would be then to change the middle window to a door and have the hip roof that comes up 3.5 feet to this point right here, and create a deck inside this area, so that the roof line basically mimics the roof on the four-square. Front elevation, basically no change. This is the existing front, and this is also the proposed new front. This is the bathroom up on the master. Then on the right side, you've got the porch, the existing roof line here. We're talking about changing some windows here where that bathroom and the laundry go, so that this second floor, you have these windows now on the second floor. So this is bathroom and laundry. On the first floor, this stays the same, this stays the same, and this window actually moves slightly back to be able to use that space in the den area. And then the new kitchen, these double windows here with a single window above it for the second floor bedroom. And then up on the back side, mudroom, stairs coming down, a new shed roof over the mudroom area. This is the new bedroom back here, and then changing the center window to a door so they can get access to this deck from the master. We actually looked at the possibility of there's so many hip roofs on this house that, you know, whether we used a hip on this area here. We thought because on the existing house there, the two shed roofs that exist are on the back side looking towards the tracks. So we actually proposed a shed roof over that area, very sort of picking up the same feeling as they have here on the existing back. And then the driveway side, you have the existing angle bay that's here. So the angle bay in the front existing the house, and then this is the addition of the kitchen, bedroom, bathroom up on the second floor. And then this is an extension of that existing basement where we have the lower headroom. So that's the scope of the addition. We've tried to make it tie into the existing architecture of the house and the other two houses in the neighborhood that are similar in nature. To be sensitive about them, we'll be using the same materials, which is basically shingle with cut corners, asphalt roof on the roofing, and exposed. This is exposed concrete and block on the foundation for the major material. And as I say, nothing happens to the front of this, so it really basically stays as it is right now. So, any questions of us or of the Sandifers?
Thanks, Roger. Good. Any questions from the audience? Who would like to start?
So I think, generally, we've seen these before with the four squares. Just any addition to a four square, it's no longer a four square anymore. And that's part of the modifications to this house and potentially as they grow over time. And I appreciate the fact that you're pulling in on the sides to sort of keep the integrity of the main house, whereas some of the neighbors may not have done that. But what I'm still trying to figure out here, and I can see how it is on the drawings, but is there another way? Is that roof on the back and the fact that it's the patio with the hip coming up, but how that roof just sort of tucks underneath the existing dormer on the back just seems a little, I want to say unfinished, but there's something about the way that roof meets the eaves on the existing dormer on the rear. Particularly with the rear elevation. Yeah. I'm not, I don't necessarily have a solution, it just seems a little unresolved.
And part of that was the idea that is the deck off the master up there, at the train going by, that, you know, this could actually be lower. And there's lots of ways that, you know, if this were lower, we still have to meet the height of the railing for the deck. But there could be some difference there if you thought that would, you know, clearing the eave line and the return here would be helpful. That's certainly something we could do.
Roger, you're saying like a railing system, so it'd be a flat roof and a railing system around instead of the roof?
I like the idea of being, you know, is being more, you know, basically hidden back behind this roof. We drew one with a rail, an open rail, and it, to us, didn't look as nice. This seemed to blend in more to the roof lines on the house. With this, I was just trying to look at the possibility of clearing that eave line up at the on the top of the four-square. But you know, as I said, we drew it that way, and it looked sort of out of place.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rail. The nice thing about this also is that you don't have it's not the entire space. There's plenty of area up here on this deck for them to have a couple of settees and a table out there, etc. But you don't need that entire 16 by 19.
And it sort of camouflages the deck a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it just that when we drew it, it looked all rail.
Be a lot of rail impact.
Right.
Yeah.
It might be this perspective that just makes that eave line neat. Something jarring.
Is there a way to sort of connect the two together, but is there some more integral solution where you're modifying that existing dormer? Which I don't know, I think that's a new dormer, right? That was part of the...
Yeah, this was all part of the new work done up on the third floor. So again, what we're trying to do is to minimize the changes up on this roof. So this is what this looks like now. So, and this is actually wider than the two side pieces. So this can be a door. I think it was a 2/8 that fit in there. Whereas the two side windows, I think, are 2/4s.
You thinking of pulling that dormer out so then it's a smaller deck and you can do railings and it's fewer rail, less rail? So you don't have the hip?
Maybe dropping that a little bit, just to give it some breathing room with the other eaves might help.
Well, yeah, you have some room from the head of these windows here. I mean, if that whole roof came down, is that what you're?
No, I'm suggesting just dropping the top portion of it.
This, okay.
Right.
What's the code for those type of structures?
About 3.5.
3.5 off the floor?
Right.
How much is that?
That's the 3.5.
It's 3.5 now, so you can't lower it?
Well, no, I mean, again, I think my point is that we could actually lower this ceiling and the whole structure of this a little bit, that, you know, if this was an issue.
Take the eave down.
Take the whole thing down, so that you only maybe have, right now, that's,
Well, doesn't that eave match up with the the existing?
Yes.
It does, that was the idea on the side. But that,
And the front of the house, too.
I mean, there is 16 inches, 17 inches there. But then on the side area,
It also may help further differentiate the addition from...
But if you look at the left side elevation, I think that the treatment of the deck seems really very in keeping with the rest of the structure. That left side elevation, I think, shows how nicely it ties in.
Did you rail the whole thing? Or did you just rail just the?
No, it was a three-sided rail when I did it.
Yep.
So it came all the way up, and that's, that's not that slope piece that comes back up in here is not a great looker either.
How about a rail just on the back? Was that? Did you look at that?
I didn't, but it's not saying we couldn't.
I mean, it doesn't take care of the side views, but at least the rear maybe.
I'm pretty sure we have that version.
Yeah.
With the rails. It didn't look, it really didn't look good at all. That's where we came back to this as being, it's I think for them, nicer. I mean, as the train goes by, it's only going at what, 15 miles an hour or so, but whatever. It makes it much more private for them.
Probably helps sound-wise as well.
Well, I think it will, yes. I mean, we didn't do, when we did this section up on top, we didn't do anything with the insulation on any of these walls. We didn't take any of these walls out. So this three-sided piece will make a huge difference in terms of sort of the track.
The sound from the train will be reflected up off the roof. It'll keep it out of the bedroom.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. But there also, the insulation value of this three-sided piece will make a huge difference in the rest of the house. You don't really hear, because of the porch and everything, you don't hear North Street as much. It's really from the backside.
Just on another topic, Roger, the windows that you were talking about changing, were they part of the new addition that you put on? Are those newer windows?
No, our intention was to reuse, relocate the existing windows. They are not the ones from, the only ones being changed is that middle one upstairs.
Okay, so you're gonna pull them out and reuse them?
Right.
Okay.
And as I said, I think that it's all basically a shingle and with cut corners, so that they're wrapped. All the shingles are wrapped, and the roofing would all be asphalt to match the new roof that was put up 2 years ago.
Ronnie, Thomas, any?
I actually like it.
It's terrific.
I mean, I hear what Michael is saying, that with the addition, it's no longer a four-square. But I like the way the addition is done to the back, and that the fact that it's stepped in. I don't mind it at all. I mean, I was out there looking at it. Today I drove by.
It's a whole different thing than this, which is where we're conscious about both of these.
I think that the one you just highlighted would look much longer.
Yeah,
it looks longer.
They took that, just continued the four-square, and just took out another 14 feet. Because I think, by breaking it up the way we've done here, setting it back that 3.2 feet really does, it separates it from the main body and keeps this massing pretty much in place. I think one of the big questions you had 2 years ago was, are these dormers and this roofing going to change the scale of this roof in the house? And I don't think it really did. I think part of the issue is we brought this out further, so the roof, it looks more like a cap rather than just, stuck on. So, and that was I think you can see that this roof here is out a little bit further than this one. It's almost the same as that one.
Because you lifted the floor.
The balcony or a different material, is that what you're saying?
For
practical matter, you're gonna have to have scuppers or something in, okay.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be on all three sides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done this once before. We did this in a job out in Hull, right on Bluff Road, and that's been up about 6 years. And, we really, those scuppers go on all three sides. We actually put heat, in the roof, so it doesn't,
Right.
with 15 inches of snow, doesn't get it clogged up. And so far, knock on wood,
So
everything is good.
where's the scupper gonna daylight? Is it gonna daylight in the roof or in the?
Yeah, the idea was on that back side, where that comes out, and here would come down onto the... So yeah, that scupper comes right down in the corner, comes down onto this roof, and then back down, and the same on this corner over here.
Is that exposed above the fascia? Or is it buried in the roof
Yeah,
and then
it's
comes
buried in the
down I gotcha.
Right.
Okay. Comes down a drain pipe.
Yeah, but the key to that is the electric, to make sure it doesn't get, covered with ice and blocked.
Right, okay.
Because you say all you want, you shovel it, it doesn't work.
It's interesting because, we're talking about all this that's going on in the rear of the house here. And I think, if you're going to look at a literal interpretation, public way is the train. Is that right? So, I mean, it's like, I don't know if you can even see this from South Street.
What would be the equivalent location on South? Is it the
Yeah.
framing store? I don't know where. It
Yeah.
is?
Yes,
Okay.
is it? Yeah.
Directly behind us. So, it's, did you
I mean,
consider?
this picture right here,
Yeah.
shows that there's a joint driveway between this house and here, and there's almost less space between these two. So in terms of the visual as you're driving down, you're not going to see much of this. And on this side, all of this is evergreen. Basically landscaping separation. So you go another 5 feet here, you can't even see the back of the house through the tree line. And of course, this is very nice separation between those two residences.
Did you consider just a smaller deck that might make it a little bit more compatible on the, a larger master bedroom, smaller deck, or maybe the deck's not as prominent, there's not as much.
Well, one of the things we also tried was actually reducing the pitch on this,
Yeah.
which then made the deck smaller because it went back into here somewhere, and the same on the other side, so the deck became smaller. But that's that height from the floor. That's our 3.5 feet, right to that point right there. And I took that from there's a membrane roof, and then we have basically a composite over the top. So I took the height from the composite, which is what you need to do. Now, we could save ourselves, 3 inches or something by doing something different on the roof deck.
Oh, the composite decking, I see, yeah, right, you need the 3'6", yeah.
But I like the fact that this roof pitch matched the pitch of all those other roof lines around the entire 4-square house, which, again, when I drew that down, it looked funny up against all this.
I think what you've drawn here, Roger, is compatible with the main house. And it was a 4-square to start. But I think the larger window sizes on the addition, I think there's enough differentiation here where you can see that this was an add-on. So I think it works with the main house. And I don't know if there's there's a right or wrong answer for the deck. I don't. I think a number of options could work, so.
Well, I'd be happy to, because they're on the computer, I'd be happy to drop off the railing and the lower pitch to Andrea, so she could, show you why we thought that it was not the proper answer for this.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Given the discussion, I'm okay with this.
I mean, I get the challenge here, and I think the concept of what you've shown is fine. It's, in reality, are you gonna get, are the dimensions that are drawn for the details of that existing dormer exactly there, and will there be some space just based on construction and versus the drawings, and,
Well, we were pretty careful to make sure we met that 3 inches. If we did something different on the composite decking for the deck itself would get us down 3 inches, what gets us free of this line right here. They say I really didn't want to drop the pitch, which would also, lessen the amount of decking. But when you get to it, that deck up above is 13 and a half, 14 feet, which is not huge. By the time you got a couple of shades up there, an old table, there's not an awful lot of room left.
Roger, can I ask you another question? On the addition in the back, you stepped it back, you stepped it in 3'2"?
Yeah.
And then you stepped back the mudroom 4 inches?
Right.
Is that enough to create a shadow line?
I think it is. I mean, again, that mudroom, we're trying to get 10 pounds of in a 5-pound bag.
So what I was asking was, instead of doing 3'2", what if you did 3 feet and then stepped it back 6 inches?
And that's possible. I just thought that the most important thing was this separation here, and that's from the main house on both sides.
Yeah, and I really like that. I just didn't want the new addition to become a full, sort of almost a 24-foot addition. But if it will create enough of a shadow line, and maybe it does because yeah, it probably does.
Yeah, the other thing about this, 3 stories, 2 stories, 1 story. So
yeah, I was just looking at the side.
It drops down as you go, so I think that's also going to create, plus you got, over here, it's not a problem, it's that corner right there. But I think, again, that's the only corner, you cannot see this corner from anywhere.
Right.
Because this house that's next to it, and the tree line just blocks this, and I had to come back on that one picture to stand right here in order to get anything to show that side of the house.
I think you've done a nice job keeping a very thoughtful approach to the house. Understanding, I lived in a house that was similar to this before, and I know the hip roof kind of boxes you in a little bit, but I think you've done a really nice job of not being incompatible or incongruous with the original house.
Thank you.
And I can understand with 4 little ones, I had to move, and you want to stay, and that's a good thing.
So 9, 6, 6, and 3?
Yeah.
Surprise.
Any other questions? Okay. We could put a condition on this where some drawings could be some different visuals on that.
It's a detail that I think, could it be improved? it'd be nice to see some separation there, but I don't think it's that critical to hold up anything here or require any additional information.
I mean, this seems very appropriate.
Okay. All right. Can I make a motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 206 4th Street, 2 additions to the rear of the structure based on drawings dated January 16th, 2018. All exterior siding and any trim are to be wood, painted to match existing house, asphalt roofing to match existing house. All windows and doors are to be wood. Windows are to be wood, true divided light. Also approving modifications to existing windows on the right side elevation of the house.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good job, guys. Thank you.
Good
That's brave. You just finished one renovation, you're doing another one?
It's too fun.
All right. Last but not least, 597 Main Street. Thank you, guys. Sorry this,
Roger's pulling a double header.
Laura and John Rosenfeld bought a house that I think one of your people has enjoyed for a number of years. And Andrea, I had a little visit not too long ago, just to show her what we were looking at. But I was sort of surprised. This is 1.9585 acres of land up on top of this, between Friend Street, Main Street, and High Street, with this, obviously, the house that was for sale up in here and these houses here, but this entire top of this thing belongs to this house, and it's lovely up on the top area. So this is the view from Main Street. This is the view facing south towards Friend. And on the right side, the north side, and then the back, which you can't see from anywhere. Basically, you can't see it from Friend or Main, or and of course, in this particular proposal, the only thing we're doing is adding a window up here and squaring off a little bit of the window issue up here in the attic. So there's no change to the footprint of this house, basically. And just briefly, so the main body of the house is this. And I'm sure, Andrew, you have there's some really funky stuff going on in the attic in terms of frame up here. You may have all the history of this. But all these rafters that were in the front of this house, they go up
Well, you can see the
8 feet.
different roof lines over time.
Right.
So,
So in the gable end, on this gable end, you can see that the peak at one point was right down here. So then it went up here and they just sistered on both sides of those rafters coming up, and then just went up higher and then came back down on the other side. It was really, I mean, I'd love to spend more time with somebody who knows much more about this, looking at all, because there's various levels of, you can see time, sort of change inside with the wood, the way this was all done. But anyway, we're not making any changes to the perimeter of this. On this first floor, the stairway is rather narrow and sort of hard to get anything up from the first floor to the second floor without taking out a window somewhere. So we're actually putting in a stairway that will meet code in the same location. And then over here, there's a box out with a little sort of shed area a stairway that goes down to the basement in the corner of this den, which is a big, huge fireplace and all the wonderful paneling and woodwork in this room. And our intention is to add about 3 to 3.5 feet of width to this den room, and then create a drop-down stair further towards the front of the house, and create a library with doors and windows so that it's all open. Right now, this entire space, about 30-some feet, Andrew, is that right? Is open all the way from here all the way to there. And we thought by putting in glass in here, the ability to have an office library here would make this work without adversely affecting. And the fireplace is almost dead center to what's left in this area right here. So the den gets bigger, the dining room stays the same, the pantry, the kitchen all stays the same. And then what we did back here is with the 6 children, we're going up of a blended family. We took the powder room off the back wall and put it on the inside wall, and then put cubbies along the back wall with higher windows. So that's the change on the first floor. On the second floor, the master bedroom is here. We've left basically the same. This is now a bathroom, which we're turning into a walk-in closet, and making a second walk-in closet and a master bath over here on the front side of the house, with the bedroom. And then there's a small bedroom right now in this area right here, which is basically going to be used for upstairs guest office, small room. But one of the kids, we've been making this thing slightly bigger as we go. But we didn't change any of the windows except for one window right here on this side. These are all these 4 are existing and stay as they are. We're actually taking this one out and using it on the first floor on the front elevation. So that what we're proposing is, this is the existing front elevation. We'd like to add one more window in this living room, and that would be the one that we're taking out from the second floor.
Is that an original window that's getting taken out?
Yeah. So up
glass.
Yes. Yeah. So we're taking that and putting it in with these others. So we'd have, instead of 3 windows over here, we'd have the 4 windows, and it picks up a little bit of the feeling of the. One more. Yeah. So the south-facing piece of the house. You've got 2 windows door, 2 windows, and you have the 5 windows up on the second floor. So what we're doing here was to say, okay, we're sort of matching the same 4-window look on the front. We're taking this as an odd-sized window here. We'd like to then take one of the other windows and put that in here. So this is a relocated, and then we'd have one new window that went over above this window here. And then what we thought is that as you look at this elevation, this window up in the attic, the glass size is really almost completely different than the glass size in the rest of the windows on that wall. And so we thought it would be not a bad idea to either get, we put a 12/12 in there, but even if we made that window smaller to match the glass size on the rest of the windows on that gable end elevation, which is really the one that you see from Main Street. So our intention was to do something different with this window right here, leaving the 2 smaller ones up here in the attic as they now exist. So we're really talking about 1, 2, 3 windows on this.
Say that again, Roger, I'm sorry.
We're talking about 3 windows on this elevation. This one will be relocated.
Yep.
This one here is also relocated.
I'm sorry,
This
say
one
that
is
again?
new.
The last one?
Yep. These 2 right here on the second floor. This is a 4/4 instead of a 6/6. So we're putting in the 6/6 windows on the second floor in that side bedroom. And then making a change in the center window up in the attic. And that's really sort of a visual thing. When you look at that elevation from the street, to us it sort of stood out. I mean, it may not, you may say, why bother? There's a picture. It's a little hard to see, but it is totally different in glass size than any of these other windows in here, because it's wider. And again, with the storm on it, you almost can't see the mountains. So maybe you'd say, well, why change it? So that would, if that were the case, that would stay up there just exactly as it is.
So relocated means you're going to reuse.
Reuse existing.
Added means it's new.
Right.
And the 6/6 on top goes to a 12/12 new glass. New glass.
Yeah.
That's a change. Okay.
But I think, again, I'm looking for a little
Okay.
assistance from you all about whether you think this is, when you look at the picture,
Okay.
because it's white and it's white mutton, it's almost impossible to see it. So
Yep.
maybe you can help us with that idea. But that's the only change on the street, Main Street elevation.
And would you be doing anything with the 6/6 window you'd be taking out?
Well, I think it's unlike anything else in the house.
Right.
So that's the problem with it. And maybe we're just better off leaving it where it is. So up here, we have the 5 windows, and that one window, this one, is the one that's coming downstairs to go. It's the same exact size as the ones downstairs to go down on that front elevation of the Main Street elevation.
Is that the relocated?
That's this one right here, right?
So on your drawing, it's a 12/12 on the side, and then the front,
Oh, I'm sorry,
it's
that's
a 6/6.
6/6. That's right. So let's. That's that. So back one. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, where's the 12/12 was up here. So that should probably then be a new window because I don't think we have anything, any 6/6 in the rest of the house that's anywhere near the size. We could, not sure that it helps us because it's a completely different, glass size, with the 6/6 here. So you have the 6/6, except for this middle one up above, on the gable end, and you have then the 12/12s on both the south and the north faces. So that's, sorry, I didn't pick that up. So the one that we add here would have to be new because there's nothing else on the house that I think we can relocate.
Roger, on the right side elevation on the next page, why are you taking, there?
That's where the closet for the upstairs bedroom.
So closets going in there?
Right.
That's why you're doing that?
Yeah, these are all staying as is on the first floor. These all stay, these two stay. It's just, and again, could we, it's possible to go back and sort of recalculate how we might.
Is that an old window?
Yes.
It's original?
Yeah.
You need that wall for the closet?
Yeah, but there may be some ways to, we've taken a little bit of space out of his.
You could use that window in the attic though, the top of the Main Street elevation.
Yeah, we could if that's.
The top one in the attic
Yeah.
is the worst condition window we have.
That's a possibility, is of taking this window here and using it up on that, on the attic where we had it was a 6/6 with large stained glass. So we could put that 12/12, which would be much more appropriate to the size of the glass that's on the rest of that elevation.
Not a whole lot of symmetry to the window layout.
No, there's.
As is.
Well, when they needed something, they just sort of put it in, no matter where, because you can see even up here,
Yeah.
there's nothing really that matches,
Right.
except for, I think, well, actually, this one's a little bit off too, I think. So there was no,
And now we're moving them again.
well, yeah, that one.
Yep. Okay.
The other thing we didn't touch, and was this situation here in the kitchen.
Yep.
And I think, Andrew, you said that was done well. These kitchen windows in here, that was done well before you got the house?
Oh, yeah, that's a, oh, yeah, that is the kitchen.
I mean, it looks,
This single pane, just,
yeah,
it's
that's
one piece of glass.
one piece of glass. So this is probably something done either before the commission was.
It's in the 80s or something like
Yep.
that.
I didn't address it only because,
Yep.
we weren't doing anything over here in this section, but at some point, it's the one place in this house that
Stands out.
stands out. I mean, as you're saying, there's not even, when you look at back here on the back side, which you can't see from any street anywhere on
Okay.
the building. But we left this except for changing where we put the cubbies. We took those two windows that are out here. And unfortunately, they're 8/8s and 6/6, but they're not the right size
Right.
to go along the front. But we've added one window up in that master bedroom, which is right here. So we took this one and moved it, and then added another bit, so the bed actually goes on this wall facing the fireplace in the center of that room. And then what we wanted to try to do, this looks a little goofy up here, and this sort of, I'm sure happened, over a period of years, was to try to, square that away a little bit by leaving this four light window here and putting another 4 light on the other side. And then this was in tough shape too, on the back side, on these gable sides, so is to change that out And I think unfortunately, this one is also too big to work on the,
The 6x6.
on the first floor.
The first floor change, is that counter going below, or what, what's
That's the cubbies for the kids.
cubbies?
We took the bathroom, which has some problems staying warm enough. A lot of underneath the sort of full foundation is in the front, and there's crawl space and or no space in the lots at the back area of the house. And so that was back here in order to get the, so when they use the back, there's a barn and a garage in the backside, they come through the back way, that they come in this door that's on the side underneath this little porch roof and come in. The cubbies and bathroom and laundry would be right in this back section in this wing right here.
Roger, can you go through the windows that are new that you want to take out and remove? Just that are, I don't know, 70s or later, 80s or later, just that you could tell they're just replacement windows that were put in that are just, I think we're going to have to come out and take a look, but I just want to know what we're up against here.
Well, I guess, one of the things, we can look at is to see, and I'll have to do some wiggling a little bit to see whether, would it be the committee's hope that this window might be able to stay in so that nothing on this basically gets touched?
Well, what's the age and the state of that window you want to take out?
This one right here?
Yeah.
That's one of the older windows. But it is a 12 over 12.
That's the condition.
Those are real.
That one's not bad. That's not
Yeah.
as bad. I mean, probably the worst ones are in the attic because they just don't get as much attention.
Roger, when you say old, as in original 1650?
I'm not sure 16, no.
Okay.
But I think that, they've got to be 50, 60, 70 years
They
old.
do have the ropes and the weights, and I've replaced some of the components of it.
So
So normally that-
there are weights.
Yeah, they're weights, so that would be,
Right.
early 1900s.
Right, it's not original.
Right.
Like we said, we could use that at the top of the attic.
This one, yeah. But I think, I'd like to have some input from the committee. I could, we've moved this thing around up on the second floor, 3 times now, Laura? If you think it's important. When I looked at this elevation, there isn't one, unlike the front, unlike the south side, where all those windows are all lined up where they would be.
Yep.
There isn't another elevation in a place that has windows that are sort of stacked. So I wasn't sure that was going to be a huge compromise or degradation of this elevation. It's clearly, you clearly can see it as you're coming through the light at high and free. It's sort of surprising, you really have to look hard to see this. But, so I would be happy to hear your thoughts about that, but as John was saying, the one thing we could do is to take this and use it in that front elevation, the Main Street elevation up in the attic. That one, the ones in the attic, both of the jam pieces are like this, and there's almost nothing holding the thing together. And it's the same on the other side and the other gable end. So both those big attic windows are in tough shape.
I think the nature of the way this house has evolved with the windows and nothing aligning, I think when it goes away on that elevation, I don't know that it helps the haphazard nature. I think it's better to to keep
just
it there.
different haphazard.
What's that?
It's different haphazard.
It's different haphazard, but I think just with the amount of window versus solid on that facade, I think if you were able to make some minor modifications to the interior in order to leave that window, I think keeping it would be better, because it would allow the rest of that to remain as it is. My other comment would be towards the other kind of haphazard elevation. This one, my initial reaction is that it seems a bit busy with all the windows and all the shutters that sort of go along with it. Again, it's, creating some other type haphazard nature, and again, it's sort of how the house evolved, but there's almost...
I mean, this is sort of goofy, but it's in the...
Yeah, if you saw that from the
It's in the
main
stairway.
street, it looks very awkward. It looks like you're missing a window currently.
It's in the
So
stairway, that's the back stair going up to the back wing.
You can barely see this from the street because there's a large tree that sits right here on the corner of this house, and that's set back, I don't know what it is, 35 feet from this edge to that wall, right? Take a picture. So it would be back there, but you can't see it the same way.
I think one of the things that might be helpful to know is that the house evolved from a 4-room cottage to a salt box in the 1800s, and they then changed the roof on the salt box, and then it became colonial with the gable end to the street. So, and the front door faces south, because that was the Edward Wilder's orchard, and he was a planter, so and there was only an Indian trail when the house was built, where Main Street is now, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, the sort of haphazard nature of even this that's facing the street. I mean, again, what we tried to do was that by adding this one over here, to bring more, that would put 4 windows in that living room, which is now centered on the fireplace, which is not centered on the room as it is right now. That room goes all the way from here to here. But now with the library here, putting this window in here, then centers it pretty much on that fireplace.
And I think this creates more symmetry, at least on the first floor. And then with adding this, replacing the much smaller window, makes it a little more consistent on the second floor. There's still some inconsistencies, but I think this is an improvement over that. It seems to be.
Yeah, it does seem better.
You guys want to take a look at these windows? See what's coming out? Be helpful.
I think it'd be good to understand, because I think you kind of went through a lot there, and it was a bit to absorb, and there's a lot of changes going on, so I think it'd be good to see the condition of what you're looking to move and reuse.
So basically, anything that you would be taking out, if you took anything out, would be reused, is that correct?
Yeah, we did.
Except for the attic.
Except for that top attic one.
The top attic.
That doesn't seem to have a home.
I'm wondering if we can get the condition kind of squared away, if Ben, you could go out there maybe.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
And maybe all of us don't have to go through the whole house, but we can, maybe we can get just a window by window look at everything. But maybe a site visit would be helpful to everyone too. Do you want to go out and take a look? Sure. Okay.
So you want to coordinate, so Ben will go
So maybe Ben should go out and
take a look at, the attic windows,
And
and
then
is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, and then we can all go out the
And we
next
don't have to
Saturday.
tramp through the house?
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I think, on the Congregational Church, remember those, the 1950s back windows that we originally tried to show you about replacing them, and you said, no, you want them fixed. We fixed every one of those guillotines, and thank you, because this guy did an unbelievable job of fixing all these windows. So you would actually put your hand up against the wall like this, and you could feel the wind blowing through the building. They now all work perfectly easily. There's no problem. If somebody raised that thing and then let it go, you could lose a hand.
Wow.
They're all working beautifully. So and I've got his name in my file. Guy did an unbelievable job of rebuilding all those things.
It's really nice.
It's good to hear, Roger.
Which is, I think.
Share the name.
Yeah, I wasn't all that pleased with you that night, but well, isn't that?
We're used to it.
Isn't that what this is what the commission is about, isn't it? Is trying to make things, that are reasonable. And I love the idea of conserving and fixing what was there. Because in most cases, even in those 50 windows, it wasn't the styles and everything on the window that was bad. It was how they were hung, and all most of the weights were gone, and the ropes were. So there was
the new wood's just not as good as the aged first generation wood, and it holds up better. And there's a reason why these windows are
Night and day.
150, 200 years old. They're still doing their thing.
Thanking you after the fact.
Thank you, Roger. That was nice to hear. Any other comments? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for waiting, too.
Thank you.
So the situation is that you're going to come and make an arrangement to Laura to...
So, I can give you Roger's number. Do you want to coordinate with Roger?
Sure.
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
and just so one person will be cramping.
One tramper.
And then we'll schedule a site visit.
Before the next meeting on Saturday.
Yeah.
Perfect. How often do you meet? Once a month?
Once a month.
So the next meeting is on the 15th?
Did you,
15th.
Did the first not take place?
No, you've got your other...
Just mine.
You've
Okay.
got your other project
Okay.
on the 1st.
Okay.
Terrific. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks
Thanks
a
a
lot.
lot.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, we aren't usually this late.
Andrew, do we have any other business for HCAM? Or can
No.
we wrap that up at this point?
We do not.
Okay, so, everybody, thank you very much for watching. At this point in time, I'd like to conclude the HCAM portion of the Historic Districts Commission meeting. Thank you.